Salvete omnes, salvete amici. Nomen mihi est decumus Aurelius Ingeniarius legatus propraetori Australiae et tribunis plebis. Hello, everybody. Good evening, hello, good day, good morning, wherever you are around the globe and around our glorious Nova Roma Republic. It is an absolute pleasure to have you in the stream this evening. Already, we haven't even started, and there's people throwing subs left, front, and centre. So thanks for the resub from Apollo. Great to have one of our usuals back in the chat with that sub, and of course one of our leaders on the leaderboard, Matheson Monarch, coming in with a tier 1 subscribe to Gren. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for those continued subs and bit cheers and direct donations. It all goes to helping support Nova Roma and all of our education and events and scholarships that we like to do, and of course keeping this channel alive. So that's absolutely fantastic. And there's Pharaoh Crab as well. Lots of salves and salvetes in chat. That's brilliant. Great. Well, if you're not familiar with this particular broadcast, it's my favourite time of year. I'd probably argue it's the Republic of Rome board game broadcast, and this is episode 2 tonight. Now, specifically, this is the Republic of Rome board game put virtually onto a virtual tabletop, specifically using the software Roll20. We've replicated this physical board game in its entirety into this virtual hemisphere. So every token exists, every die, every card, it's all there. And I have managed to convince 6 victims, senators, to play along with me, and they did absolutely marvellous last week. I was so impressed with the level of enthusiasm and the level of vigour. It was great. There were some of the best speeches during a prosecution last week. If you haven't seen last week's broadcast, you can check it out in the VOD section below on this channel, or head to our YouTube channel, Australia Nova Romana, and you can watch the entire broadcast there. I tell you what, Tiberius Cornelius and his senator acting as prosecutor gave a truly resounding speech, and then that was backed up by the advocate giving another amazing speech in reply. That is exactly what we like to see in these games. So that made my day, and I'm looking forward to what tonight brings as well. So it was a long session, and probably one of the longest sessions that I've seen in one sitting. We didn't make it through all 7 phases, which constitutes about a year, roughly, in terms of Roman political time. But what we did do is we finished the end of the Senate session, and we're about to go to war. So we are starting this session at the start of the combat phase. Excuse me, I'm really excited here. So what we're going to see when we come in, we'll greet our senators again and say hello. And then we're going to get kick off right with the combat phase from the first turn cycle. We'll see Senator Cornelius leading quite a strong army against what is the first Punic War. And they also got quite lucky. They managed to draw an event card in the last cycle, which actually nicked off the first Gallic War. So that's disappeared into the top 6 cards of the deck. We'll see when that comes back out again. But that's given them a little bit of reprieve while they focus on the first Punic War. So they need this victory first off the bat. So let's hopefully they do well. So let's not delay any further. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a short transition break while I move my cameras around between OBS and whatever, and I guess the OBS Ninja software in the background. So give us a 2 minutes or so to do that, and then when we come back on live, you will see us all of our smiling faces ready to get going. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Stand by. Okay, we are back. We are live. I'm just checking the video feeds. It all looks good across the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 senators. I can hear me. Hopefully the chat can hear me as well. Give me some thumbs up and some emotes in chat if you can hear me. Now, if all of our senators can say salvete and give me a wave.
Salvete.
Good, and I'm getting some good levels there, and the chat will let us know that they can hear you. But it looks like it's coming through nice and clean on the OBS, so that's great. Well, welcome back to all of you, all of our senators. Like I said to the chat, and I'm sure you guys heard me there, I was really impressed with you guys last week. The level of dedication and enthusiasm you put in is exactly what we're looking for, and it really makes this game. You heard me explain everything already. So I guess let's not delay. Let's get straight into this combat phase, and it'll be over in a flash. Hopefully in the correct direction. So let's just quickly recap what we do and don't want to do when it comes to war cards. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change everybody's view. I'm going to focus all your views. So hands off mice and mouse pads for the moment. I'm going to centralize everybody's view. So just give this a moment. Okay, so everybody's view is now changed, and you can see where I've set up in the active wars area. Your army as the Senate, led by Cornelius, the field consul at war, and the first Punic war card. So you can see there that we actually used a completely different card here, so that Marcus Decimus doesn't have to move his entire senator up here, because that can get a bit tedious with all the little tokens everywhere. So our good Apollo says he's got an emote for his thumbs up. That's good. Thank you, Apollo. So I've got these what I call commander cards. So whether you're a governor or you're a commander, I've got a card that represents each of your senators, and we'll pull that out of a deck to help represent, just to remind us who is in control at any one time. So you can see there that the most important factor is still there on his card, his military 4 rating, and of course he's wearing his armor. Now, I don't know how authentic historically his Gallia, his helmet, is there, but it's pretty close for the Republican era. Probably not for the early Republic as this is, but close enough. And again, his Lorica Musculata I don't think is either quite accurate either, but it's good enough for government work, eh? I'm going to take a sip of tea, calm myself down for the impending excitement. All right, let's have a look at that first Punic war card there. So it currently has a strength of 10 only at the moment, which is good. It currently has no enemy heroes or any matching wars. That's going to make this more difficult. And really at the end of the day, this is about a comparison on strength. So you can see here you've got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 legions, plus your strength of 4, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So you currently have a strength of 17 versus 10, which is a difference of 7. And that's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. Marcus Decimus was running your sums pretty early, and in order to get into a nice range on your combat results table, based off a relative 3d6 roll, you want that difference modifier to be as high as you can get it. To make that even better is obviously send commanders with higher military ratings, or in cases where it's needed, sending a dictator and his master of horse, which really gives you an added bonus as well. I guess not to mention sending more legions also makes things easier. Now, the only reason, of course, as you'll recall, that we have the 5 fleets with us is because, it should be 10 fleets. I've only put 5 down here. I've got to go pull them. Oh, no, it is 5. Disregard. Yes. I'm getting confused with the fleet strength versus the fleet support, and we know that the anchor icon is the fleet support, which is only 5. That's why we have the 5 fleets, and that is necessary for us to execute a war on this card. Now, they are tagging along, and they are susceptible to damage should the combat results table reflect losses against our naval components, but fingers crossed that doesn't have to happen. Now, we are able to execute the land war on this card because we've already obtained the naval victory, which means the 10 strength navy has been obliterated already, but that was a freebie at the beginning of this game, what we call the WBC, or the World War Gaming Championships rule start for this game, just to make it a little bit easier for you guys, because we don't want this to be on a knife's edge. We want to get a little bit of enjoyment out of this game. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to request the commander to roll the 3d6, okay? And then we're going to add that 7 modifier to that roll, and then we're going to consult the combat results table. What he does not want to do on that raw 3d6, he does not want to roll the 13, he does not want to roll the 11, and he does not want to roll a 14. So there's 3 numbers he wants to avoid there. In each of those cases, it means there is no victory, and will really determine how much of a loss you've sort of had. The war will remain there, you'll take losses, lots of death tit draws. Yeah, it's not pretty, and particularly in the early Republic, you don't really want to be having any losses at all on any war cards. So, it's going to be, We'll take this nice and slow. If we do get a disaster or a standoff, we're actually going to consult that part in the rule book, make sure we do all the right things. If you get a victory, we're also going to consult that part of the rule book, and just make sure that we get everything right. We're going to take things nice and slow so we don't miss anything. The least that Alan Richborough, one of our avid scrutineers, watching the stream, make sure he has to pick up the least amount of things as possible. But there's always one thing I forget, so I'm trying to improve my record. Okay, so let's not dilly-dally anymore. So I guess at your leisure, Marcus Decimus, if you'd like to roll 3d6, please, and let's see what that result is.
All right, then.
No pressure.
No pressure. All right, chat,
Yes.
send me luck.
Sharpen that sword.
Pray to your various gods.
Praying to Mars.
Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about that roll, I think. So we've got a 13.
Oh, no.
13 plus 7.
Disaster. Nope. You can go straight to the disaster part of the card.
But because we've hit disaster on the 13. So normally that would be a good roll. But right, we've rolled the disaster, which is the worst outcome, I think, short of an absolute defeat. So let's talk through this. Dear, that's not really the start that we wanted, is it?
It's not a great start for Cornelius, who won't be welcome back to Rome.
You might want a bit of a holiday out there.
If he even makes it back, that is, because there's some problems there. Right. So I'm now just going to the part of the rules here, and I'm just going to talk through some things. So, okay, disasters. So the results table is ignored, which we've gathered, and the battle is an automatic disaster, causing a loss of half fractions rounded up of all participating Roman forces. Okay. However, each disaster number can only be applied once per turn, but that's not going to be applicable because you don't have a second force. Fleet and legion losses are each halved and rounded up separately. And the unrest level is increased by 1. So, who is our quaestor? Who was elected quaestor last turn?
Marco.
Yes, Marco Werdia. So, as quaestor, I'd like you to go to the unrest level on our game board and increase it from 0 to 1. So that's the little red zone. So you'll probably need to grab a number 1 token. So that's the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to increase the unrest level by 1. The population's not happy with the disaster that our forces faced.
No.
The next thing we can do here, and this will be pretty easy for Marcus Decimus, if you'd like to replace your consul at war token with the pro-consul at war token, and I guess you could do the same for your card back in Rome as well, hidden underneath. So if you'd like to do both of those for your respective leaders. So now that this is essentially talking about the end of the combat phase, there's a couple of other things that we need to do. I'm just picking some stuff here, cherry picking. But right, even though he's still technically a commander in the field, but his time will be ending at the end of the combat phase as a consul. So he's going to become a pro-consul. And that's what we're updating here. So he's going to do that for both his card back in Rome for reference and also his commander card out in the field. That may change, but that's okay. Okay, now from here we now need to start halving forces. Okay, now it'll be a random selection. So I've got a little machine here that's going to help us calculate what the losses are. So let's go back up to our combat area. So it's half of each rounded up. So you've got 13 here. So half of 12 is 6. It'll be 7. So you're going to lose 7 legions, and then you're going to lose 3 fleets. All right, that's very hefty. That's terrible. So I've got a little sheet here for those that are watching at home, and I'm just going to hit some numbers here. So perhaps our scriber can do this while I'm activating the sheet. So if the scriber is looking at the legions, as I read out the legions, can you pull these to one side, perhaps on the other side of the first Punic War there, and then I'll drag those back to their respective area in just a moment. So the first legion I'd like you to pull off the deck. is you don't have Legion 16. Legion 7. Pull Legion 7 off to the side. That'll be our first Legion death. Good. Next one is Legion 2.
Valet, Legion 2.
That's it. The next Legion you can pull off is Legion 10. No, not the 10th. Not the 10th from Texas.
10th is gone.
The next one you're going to pull off is Legion 4.
That's for you, Cornelius.
The next one you're going to pull off is Legion... We don't have a Legion 14. Legion 11.
Legion, good old 11th.
Good. And Legion 6.
6th, gone.
All right, and we're going to do one more for the rounded up of the losses, and that will be Legion 5.
5th.
The 5th Legion. Okay, now from the fleets. Let's see which fleets get destroyed. So we're looking to remove 3 here. The first fleet we're going to remove is fleet number 5.
I'm feeling every one of these losses.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess you're not coming home with some loyal consorts behind you.
Yeah. Fleet number 1.
First fleet.
Yep. Next fleet is going to be rolling through here. No, not that one. Will be... I need a smaller number here. Need a fleet number. That we've done that one. We've done that one. Oh, the fleets are giving it a good fight. I like it.
They're fighting you better than they fought under Cornelius.
Fleet number 4 is next, and that's all for the fleets. All right. Now we have to do death chit draws against the commander as well.
Let's all hope for a good result here.
So
let's see how good that helmet was.
Let's just double check that we've done everything right so far. So loss of half fractions rounded up of all participating Roman forces, where the fleets and the legion losses are halved and rounded separately. We've done that. We've increased the unrest level. Are you happy that you've done that, Marco Edia?
Have I used the right marker?
Let's have a look. Was it a grey number
marker.
1? No, you've used a knight
it was
token.
a beige one.
Yeah, you need the grey.
Okay.
Yeah, the grey one.
one.
I mean, yeah, you're almost there.
Grey
So
one.
if you want to do work on that one, all right. And
fix it.
we've changed over to Pro Console. I'm going to move that field console marker to the deaths over there. Very good. All right. And now what we're checking for here is the rule that just confirms how many death chit tokens that he's got to do. So here under Rule 1.10.7, for those playing at home, in any battle other than defeat, draw a number of mortality chits equal to the number of units lost. So if a number belonging to the commander, so I'm just double checking that includes fleets, which I believe it does.
Yeah.
It
does
through.
appear to say that.
Yes. Okay. So by my count, you'll have to do 10 chit draws, and noting that if you pull a draw 2, you've got to draw an extra 2.
Yep.
And if you get to that last tally, and it is you've dodged them all until that point, and it does in fact draw your ID number. And what is your ID number? It's number 1, right?
Number
so
1.
we want to avoid a number 1 death chit draw. Now, if you pull a 1 on your very last draw, he gets captured instead of killed. So that's probably kind of half good news. So I'm going to be looking down at the chat here. All right. So we're going to do this again nice and slowly. We're going to do 10 of these to make sure to see if Cornelius survives. All right. Now, do you know where the rollable table is for Death Chit, Smarticus, Decimus? Good. All right. If you'd like to go ahead and do your first draw, please. It is a number 9, so you've survived that one. Okay, let's do roll number 2. That's 28. Okay, number 3 is none. That's a good one. Number 4 is 23. Number 5 is draw 2. So you've got to draw another 2, please, now. So there's 5, and there's the 1.
Done.
Bad
There is the 1. Okay. So the commander has died, which is rather unfortunate. I'm just going to pull that Pro Console token over there for the moment. Now, was Cornelius a faction leader?
He was.
Well, we were so confident.
That's okay. So there's special rules for those senators that are faction leaders. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to now cross over to the other rule book that we're using, and that is rules 2.16 of the Avalon Hill edition of the rules, because we are using the aging senators rule. Of course, I think this is also mentioned specifically in the main rule book as well, but I quite like it how it's summarised nicely in the Avalon Hill in the rules. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the section on senator death, essentially. So we're going to go here, down. First, it might check their mortality phase. Here we go. Death consequences. Okay, so all markers. So let's go back down. Let's go have a look at Cornelius, and let's step through this for everybody's sake so we can have a look. So first of all, Marcus Decimus, if you'd like to put your away from Rome token back in its little home on the game board down the bottom there. That'll be the first thing we do. And, right, and I guess his proconsul marker as well, if you'd like to pop that into its little home. So we'll slowly start migrating the tokens back to where they need to be. And I'm going to read this out for all of you here. So regardless of the cause of death, all markers except for the faction leader marker are removed from the afflicted senator's card. Now, in this case, he was a faction leader senator, so but I'll read this section anyway. Unless the deceased was a faction leader or statesman, his card is returned face down to the bottom of the curia in the repopulating Rome space, representing a rising family member of the deceased. A dead faction leader family card always remains with his faction unless he was killed as a court assassin or in the resulting prosecution. Okay, so that means he's just got to clear all the tokens off the card, but he gets to keep that family card in his hand, which is really useful. Now I'd like to pull that up again in our main rulebook, so the version 1.06, and we're going to go to the mortality phase here. We need some thinking music in some of these cases, don't we? But we're going to take it nice and slow. Here it is there. Mortality resolution. Yeah, we've talked about death chit draws. Death consequences, and it reads pretty much the same. So this is rule 1.05.3 for those that are interested, playing along at home. He didn't have any concessions attached, but if there were concessions attached to him, they would go to the forum at this point, ready for the Senate to vote upon in a future proposal. He's not a governor in this case. And right, so any faction leader that is not a faction leader goes to the curia, but he was, so he's protected. So if anything, that's probably a good call. You can also remove his age token as well there, Decimus, Marcus Decimus. So his age token go back to the, so he'll be 0 in the I guess the coming cycle, as it were. And I guess while you're there, you could probably update your influence, your faction influence box at the top of your zone, because that's of course now changed. And you could perhaps then update your faction votes as well, because you've essentially got his faction votes back. So the son of Cornelius the Younger, has now joined the Justita Merita faction, replacing the now dead Cornelius. Died on the field of battle against Hannibal Barca, or his predecessors. Right, I think we've now covered everything. I think I'm pretty happy there. I'm going to go back to my cheat sheet here as well. I think the cheat sheet does cover some of this for those that are looking at that. Yeah, you can see the land losses there.
Does he come back as a faction leader?
Yeah, that's fine. And that will stay with that card, and of course he can decide to change that in the next initiative stage, which will come up in the future rounds. So let's go back to here. Hamilcar, there you go. Pharaoh Crab told me that's the one I was looking for. Hamilcar. In the first Punic War. So, very good. Okay. All right. Well, good from a finished the process point of view. Not so good for you guys, who's not only did we lose that war, we also lost a commander, which is never a great outcome. So what we're going to do from here, because the forces out in the field no longer have a commander, they're sort of forced to return to the active forces box. So I'm going to drag them all down here, and they'll be available for the Senate to consider in the year to come. Okay, so they're back in the active forces box. I'm going to take Cornelius here. I'm going to put him back up in a little hold zone. He no longer exists as a concept. We'll put him back up there. And of course, we can take all of our dead legions and fleets. I'm going to slowly start moving them down here. Here we go. Yeah, that's. I had high hopes. But you know, those disasters and standoffs are ugly, and there's not a great deal you can really do about those. Having said that, though, if you sent 2 forces, you could the second force, if they also rolled a 13, could ignore it because you can only have 1 disaster or standoff number rolled per turn. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case. We didn't have the additional armies. You know, they're expensive, right? All right, so I'm just putting some of these tokens back on our board, ready for future raising. That's a huge loss. So with each legion, it's about 6,000 men, right? Give or take. They're not normally full strength like that. So that's 42,000 men you guys just lost in a battle, if my math is not mistaken.
That's a lot, guys.
That is a lot of death.
The commander needs to be punished.
That was like
The commander has already been punished.
the battle, the Battle of Cannae all over again. Okay, I think we've now done all our administration. I'm saying that now, but I'm sure Alan Richborough is rolling in his seat watching this review at some point in the future. We'll get his feedback, no doubt, coming forward. Okay, well, that concludes the combat phase. There's nothing else for us to do here. We don't have to make any wars unprosecuted because you guys got rid of the Gallic War using that event card. That is petered off into the top 6 of the deck somewhere, so we'll eventually see that come again in the future. Okay, let me just do a sound and video check across the board, make sure I can still hear and see all of my senators here. Yep, that looks good to me. We can now move on to the next phase. Okay, so pull up your cheat sheets again. There's no need to look at war exhaustion here. There's nothing to do with unprosecuted wars. We've talked about that. Let's go into the revolution phase, and let's just talk through some of the elements here. So the first one on the deck is, it talks about voluntary retirement. And this is a part of the Avalon Hill rule set that we've brought in. So for those senators that have an influence of 20 or more, and that doesn't apply in this case right now, excuse me. If you've got a senator who's got 20 or more influence, you have the option to retire them. Now, if they are of a certain age, usually 7 or up, you may want to consider retirement. And that way you can bank that influence and add that towards your tally towards the end of the game. Because that senator will eventually die of natural causes for every turn. But you can only retire them if they've got 20 or more influence. So if you've got a senator that you're focusing on, maybe good to continue to get them gaining influence before they get to the elder years, and then you may be able to bank some influence. So don't forget about that as an option. Or you can run the gauntlet, wait until they're 8 or they're 9, but each year that they go on to live or they don't retire, and it gets slightly, the probability of them dying of natural causes increases by 1 on a d6, right? So that's there. Okay. The next step, any questions before we move on to the little next step on our cheat sheet here? Any questions from our senators? No, I think we're all happy. And of course, we can talk and ask more questions about voluntary retirement when it comes a little bit more relevant in the future years. So that's not a problem. So let's now talk about intrigue. Now, we kind of did this at the start of the game. Now, our viewers wouldn't have seen this when we first started because we did this off camera, which is the initial intrigue step, which was the ability for our players to play cards from their hands. Now, in this, there's at this point here in the game that any movement of cards anywhere is permitted to occur. The only restriction, I think, is any cards, i.e. concessions that are played to a senator, have to remain there. You can't pull a concession off a senator. Once it's assigned, it stays there, so it's stuck. But in any other case, I'm specifically referring to trade. So if you have an intent to trade, or if you've already made a public or private deal previous to this point and you'd like to trade a card, you can certainly do that. But of course, if you want to commence a trade, you can also do that at this point in time and have that discussion now. Certainly achievable. Now, we're going to go in order of highest ranking available officer first, and then each person will get an opportunity in clockwise order to then make or play or trade some cards from their hands, okay? So anything else that we need to know about? No, that's all we need to be concerned with here. It's just the playing of cards. Now, you just need to remember your restrictions. Obviously, if you've got concessions, you can play as many concessions as you like to whatever many of senators in any combination that you want. So you can have senators with more than one concession. You can play more than one concession. That's not a problem. Other cards that you really shouldn't be playing at this time, unless you're trading them, is things like tribunes or bodyguards, maybe law cards if you wanted to trade those, if you happen to have those. I don't think anybody would have a law card at this point. And of course, right trades. Now, the only other restriction that is worth talking about is statesman cards. So that looks like kind of looks like your senators on the board, except they're going to have red text and they'll often have a special ability of some sort. Remember, you can only play a statesman if A, you own the respective ID'd family card, or B, the ID number of that statesman doesn't just exist in family form on the board already. And we saw that at the beginning of the game with down the House of Julii with Cato the Elder. So Cato the Elder has an ID of 22, and in the early Republic, you won't encounter a senator greater than ID 20. So he was able to play that card because nobody else owned Senator ID 22. Now, I can't recall your hands, but some of you may have statesmen that you can't play because somebody else owns the respective family card. So there's a few options, and I've discussed with some of you about what you can do. A lot of people will potentially look to make some sort of trade. Offer up the statesman card to the owning faction in exchange for something, whatever that may be, whatever the players agree on. But I'll leave that to the players. Are there any questions before we start this step in proper? Senators, and we can again talk about stuff as we go along. Now, and so just a reminder: a concession card is anything that has the corruption bar down the middle. Okay, it'll be like Sicilian grain or tax farmer or ship dock fees or whatever the case may be. But if it implies that it gives you some sort of talents on the right-hand side each turn, and there's a picture on the left and corrupt down the middle, yes, that is a concession card. So you feel free to message me or text me if you've got some private questions, or you can throw it into the Roll20 chat as a whisper to the GM. I can answer your questions that way as well. And again, for those that are watching, of my senators watching the stream live, no screen cheating, please. Let's keep our integrity as the Roman Senate. We're all about integrity in the Roman Senate, aren't we? So, so let's keep the game fair. As you would not go peeking under your respective players' chests in other factions. I request that you don't screen cheat to see other people's cards or private questions. Keep the game going. So, okay. So, who is our highest ranking available officer right now?
That would be me.
Okay.
It would be Sulpicius.
All right. So, as the highest ranking available officer, you've got the option to playing some cards from your hand if you so choose. So, I'm going to focus in on your faction first. So, let me just get into view and zoom in a little if you don't mind me waiting. So, our viewers at home can see what's going on. And we can see Sulpicius there as Rome Consul. Very good. Okay. All right. Would you like to play any cards at this point in time, sir? Or talk about trades or whatever you'd like to do?
I will not.
I can hear you again, Tiberius Cornelius, I see.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yep.
Excellent.
Okay, great. I just had a question I couldn't ask.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, ask your question now if you like.
I noticed on some of the cards they're destroyed by the Punic Wars.
Yes.
So when does that occur?
So I think you'll find there's specifically the Second Punic War, and there's a step that occurs during the Forum phase, I believe, or the cards themselves will specify. So I think the highest ranking available officer has to make some rolls at certain points, but if the cards should say the Second Punic War in particular, not necessarily the first one, I think. I'm happy to be corrected. But yes, there is a point in the game where the highest ranking available officer has to roll to see if they are destroyed. And that will correspond, and the reason why I say the Second Punic War, for those that are familiar with the Punic War history, the Second Punic War, Hannibal and his armies essentially went round destroying a lot of farmland and agricultural land right across Italy, but he purposely left the farms of Fabius Maximus, who was in charge of the armies at that stage, trying to generate unrest against him as a commander back in Rome. So Hannibal would purposely leave the properties by Fabius alone and destroy all other farms. So that is, I think, what that rule is linking to there. Does that answer your question, Tiberius Cornelius?
It does, thank you.
Okay, back to Lucius Julius, the House of Julii. Sorry, would you like to play some cards?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're okay. All right, so he's going to maintain the two cards in his hand. So we're now going to move clockwise to Justia Marita under Marcus Decimus. Would you like to play some cards at this stage, good sir?
I'm currently got a proposal off to another faction, and
Sure.
I'm waiting to get back from an answer.
Okay, well, we can sort of wait in position for a little bit while you're having a conversation with them.
I've got my answer back, and I am happy to trade and happy to do a open trade. So that person may wish to speak.
Yep, sure.
I am willing to trade as well.
Okay. Very good.
I have a set of cards.
All right, so you've got some cards that you're going to throw. That'll come face down, and I'm happy for those to remain face down.
So you just click and drag, and they'll come face down?
Yep, so you grab your card from your hand and drag it out to the table. It'll automatically be face down on the table, and then your respective recipient can pick them up. Yep, that's fine.
All right, my card is in the center of the table.
Good.
As is mine.
I'll allow this to finish. All right, so no, you can't trade any cards yet, so you'll need to keep that in your hand for the moment. We have to wait till your turn.
All
We're
right.
going to take this nice and slow, all right? Nice and slow. So I guess you can receive a card, but you won't be able to put anything out at this point.
Yep, and then I can play any cards that I may or may not.
Yes, that is correct. If there's other cards you'd like to do at this time, by all means, yes, you can play them to the table. All right, he's going to play first card here, which appears to be... Right, so he has a Statesman card, which is Cornelius Scipio Africanus. Allow me to... yeah, that's okay there. Let me put him... I'll bring your token... I'm going to adjust your cards. Stand by. So I'm going to go 1, and then I'm going to do this again. 2. There we go. So that should be in a nice order for you. So let's have a look at his abilities. For those that are interested in playing, I'm going to zoom in.
Good.
Yeah. So, have a look at this. So, Scipio Africanus here has the ability to nullify disasters and standoff numbers on Punic Wars. Boy, wouldn't that have been helpful? If only you guys did that trade sooner. Oh dear.
Hey,
Where's the card?
So if you go look at Justia Marita's faction under Marcus Decimus down the bottom left playing area, the bottom left players area there. In fact, I can just do the quick zoom for you all so you can have a look. Here we go. Everyone update everyone's views. So you can see, yes, the Statesman's just been played, 1 Alpha, Scipio Africanus. So yes, his special ability is to nullify disasters and standoff numbers. Yes, if only we had that sooner. We could have saved much heartache. Yes. Any other cards you'd like to play at this point in time, Justia Marita? And Marcus
Not
Decimus?
at this time.
Okay.
I am fine. Thank you very much.
All right, let's go up to pre-Byzantium now. I'm just scrolling up to that area. Numerius Aurelius, would you like to play any cards from your hand at this point?
negative.
Negative. He does not want to play any cards from his hand at this point. He's quite happy there with the Pontifex Maximus. Fair enough. Okay. And while there, Marcus Decimus, if you'd like to update again your faction votes and influence accordingly respecting to your cards.
Roger that.
Very good. And don't forget to update your vote and influence tracker tokens as well, if you remember to do that. Okay, let's go across to the Urdaite faction under Marcawedia. Would you like to play some hands from your card at this stage?
Not at this stage, no.
Not at this stage. Okay, another faction choosing to hang on to what they've got. And we'll go now around to the House of Incognita under Quintus Octavius. Would you like to do something with your cards at this point?
I would like to play a card.
He would like to play a card. Okay. So there it goes. All right, the concession. Allow me to put this towards the back for you. Stand by. All right, there we go. So he's going to play Tax Farmer 5 on Flaminius, which will give him 2 talents per turn. So let's have a zoom in here. So, and we'll read this one. I think this is relative to Tiberius Cornelius' question. So, destroyed on a 5 on 1d6 as a result of Punic Wars, Hannibal, Gladiator Revolt, and or Spartacus. Return to Curia if destroyed. Return to Forum if owning senator is convicted or killed. Now, that just says to me Punic Wars. I'm going to go back in the rules because I know the rule book talks about this particular, and I'm pretty sure it was the Second Punic War. So, Tax Farmer, let's have a look. Have a look in here. Here we go. Yeah, so it is Second Punic War. So for those that are interested, if you look at in our 1.06 Alpha rulebook, under Rule 1.07.8, putting Rome in order. Step 2 there is the HRR rolls to see which tax farmer concessions are destroyed if the Second Punic War or Gladiator slave revolts are active. Okay. I think it's based on the Spartacus era, if I'm not mistaken. That might be the reflection there. So that tax farmer 5 will be safe until you see the Second Punic War. So fingers crossed you don't see that anytime soon. Any other cards you'd like to play at this point, Quintus Octavius?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. All right, so just the one concession. All right, now I'm going to scroll down to Fortuna's Despair. He will be despairing a lot more after that loss on the battlefield. Down to Tiberius Cornelius. Would you like to play some cards at this stage, good sir?
It's a solid maybe, but I'd like to get some advice on one of them first. And I'm just wondering how we can do that.
So you can either whisper to me in the Roll20. You can send me a text message if that's more convenient for you. That may be easier instead of trying to type in whispers into Roll20. If you can describe the card, of course, I should be able to look at your hand as well, and I may be able to sort of deduce which one you're talking about, provided our senators don't screen sheet for the moment. I think you might text, so I'll await your message and I'll see what advice I can provide for you. So what we might do for those perhaps non-subscribers, we might let's do a quick 30-second ad break maybe. Does that sound like a good idea? I think so. Let's have a look. That's good. Okay. Okay, I see your question. Let me take a moment to reply here. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Take a sip of tea. Have a beverage. I'm going to do a quick reply here.
Guys, this wouldn't happen if you'd had more priesthoods. I offered them. Nobody wanted them. Don't blame me.
Well, I thought having a Pontifex Maximus on our side was going to, bring a lot of help with Mars, but
yeah, I did not see any avatar of Mars appear on the battlefield.
The gods are quite fickle, guys. So I can do my best.
All right, we're nearly there. We'll just see if he's happy with those answers. And then we'll get his final considerations. George Tanos just asked, you have viewers who aren't subscribers? Well, very few. There's not many that aren't subscribers with the amount of gifting subs that have come through on the channel in previous sessions. Nearly every one of our followers has a sub against their name. There's only one or two viewers probably left that don't have a sub, but I think I'll spare people now that we're starting to come back, which is good. I'm just going to refresh this window here for my purposes. Very good. Okay, all right. So let me just double check that Tiberius Cornelius has still got an audio for me. Yep, cool. All right. So how are you feeling, Tiberius Cornelius? What would you like to do?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. I'm going to play this card.
I see.
How do I flip it?
Right-click flip should be the option. There we go. Okay, now if you just leave that there for just a moment, I'd like to read this out for everybody. This is a good one to play. I like this card. So this is called Influence Peddling, and it says on the card, you may discard this card any time other than during the revolution phase, and draw an unplayed card at a random opponent of your choice. So this card cannot be played at this point. So any other time but now. So you could play this during a war. You could play this in the very next phase during the mortality phase. So if you hold on to it for another 15 seconds potentially until we get to the mortality phase, and then I'll just play it again there.
All right, I've just made it disappear somehow. I just removed a card which didn't remove it back to my hand.
Did you say remove card?
Yeah. So
that deletes it. That's okay for the moment. I'll double check where it goes. I think it might go back into the draw pile. But don't delete cards and don't remove cards if you can avoid it on the deck. I'll double check our deck a little bit later. I think it may have gone back there.
All right, well, let's just hold on to it because I'll use it.
But right, we know what it is. I think it's come back on the deck there.
That's my second card. I'm going to play.
Is your second card you can play? Yeah, sure, good, okay. You had my hopes up there. All right, so let's have a look at your second card is. And that is a Tax Farmer 6. Very good. So who would you like to assign that to now?
I'll put it under Achilles.
Okay. Achilles, I'll move that to the back for you. Stand by. There we go. You'll be able to adjust that nicely now. Good. And that's another 2 talents per turn. And again, it's vulnerable to the Second Punic War should that come up. All right. And that concludes the intrigue step of the revolution phase. Now, the other steps there you can see is talking about declarations of rebellion. So if you have victorious commanders that come back, they can at that time, state that they, come back to Rome and give their forces back, de-arm before crossing the Rubicon, or they could take the approach of Julius Caesar and go, you know what, I'm coming back in force and march on Rome. And that essentially then becomes... a bit of a process to manage, but that becomes an active war that the Senate then has to fight in the coming combat phase. Now, I would not expect to perhaps see a rebel governor or a rebel commander probably during the early Republic. It can be difficult to fund an army of that size and to get all the forces that you require. So... by all means, think about it, but I wouldn't expect to be doing it in the early Republic. It'd be too difficult. But have a read up on those rules to familiarise yourself. Should that be something that you want to do in the not too distant future?
So you can't bring it back as Rome's standing army.
What's that? Sorry.
You can't have a standing army that is under the control of the Senate. So
you guys do right now. So you guys have whatever's in your active forces box is your standing army. So. Right. Unfortunately, you lost half of them due to losses, but yeah. So whatever it is still currently raised. That's what's in your active forces box there at the moment. Okay, so we have now concluded. You guys, there's no ending or victory conditions at this point in time. We have concluded a whole year cycle, more or less, which is practically historically, and with the fighting the war, it's probably a couple of years, but we've completed one whole turn. Yay! Everybody clap. Well done. Woot woot. All right. So from here, let's step into the mortality phase. And let's do our mortality phase. Now, before you start moving, let's just double check. Imminent war activations. We don't have any imminent wars, so there's nothing to do there. We got this war exhaustion here. So what I'd like to do is, if I could have the Quaestor, all right, Marca Wedia, I'd like you to place a number 1 on the first Punic War card, which is still in our active forces box. A number 1. Okay, so this just shows you how old the war is. And the idea here is you don't want a war to get to the age of 6. Because if it does, you lose. So that gives you a bit of a timeline. So just one of the grey number 1 tokens, like you did for the unrest level.
Normal grey one?
Yep, just a normal grey, number 1. And just plop that anywhere on top of that first Punic War in the active forces box. All right, so that's called the aging of wars. Okay, and now we're going to start talking about the aging of senators. Okay, so as I said in our little group, despite my pleas, one of you still got it wrong. So, and look, not many people like to include this rule because it is a bit fiddly, managing ages and stuff like that. But just take your time. You just need to look at the current black death chit number on your senators, and you just need to increase it by 1. However method you want to do that's up to you, whether you shuffle tokens or get all brand new ones and bring them in, it's totally up to you. But just take that time now to increase the age of all your senators by 1, all right? But people can age the senators the wrong sorts and they get confused. So really, if you need to write down notes first, do that, or take a photo or a screenshot and then compare. That's probably a good idea too. But just take your time and age each of your senators by 1. If it's a 0, if they've got none at the moment, then they get a number 1. Okay, so that will be applicable to Scipio Africanus, so he'll have a number 1 now. Everybody else will be aging their senators respectively by 1 year. All right. So I'll be auditing this again during the course of the week, and I'll be naming and shaming anybody that gets it wrong. Now, Marika Wedia, would you like me to bring your tokens over for you?
I can switch 2 of them.
Yes, you can.
A little bit of help would be good.
Okay, so what number do you need?
I need a 5.
You'll need a 5. I can see that. Very good. I'll get you a number 5 now. Stand by.
Thank you.
I'm scrolling around. Here we go. This will be making everybody watching at home on the Twitch stream sick. Okay, there's our number 5. I'm going to pick that up here, and I'm going to start dragging that back over. So yeah, we've fully replicated every physical token here, which of course makes the virtual tabletop strain a little bit. Here we go. So the 5 is now in your zone. Can you see that? Under your treasure chest. Treasure? Faction treasury. Marika Wedia? 1, 2, 1, 2. Did we? She's thumbing it. There we go. Cool. All right. So, and I'll take the 2 back for you. You won't need that any further. Okay, good. So I'll just zoom out and I'll go plop that back. Okay, take that over there. Very good. How's everybody else doing? Anybody still going?
Ready to go.
Okay. 1, 2. All right, so let's just go double check all the factions. So we have Manlius now age 3, Aemilius 5, Flaminius 4. Starting to get some middle-aged men now. Fortuna's Despair, we've got Achilles 4, Paprius 5, Furious 3, Cross to the House of Julii. We've got Cato the Elder 2. It's funny because he's one of the youngest in this faction. So Picius is 4, Fulvius is 3, Aurelius is 5. Justia Marita, we have Scipio Africanus 1, Valerius 5, Quinticus 4, and then up to Pre-Byzantium, we have the Pontifex Maximus 5, Calpurnicus 4, and Fabius 3. And then we go, yes, Erudite Julius. Julius is 3, Platius 5, Aelius 4. Okay, currently looks correct, but I'll verify just to make sure everybody got it right. Okay, so I just want to double check. Tiberius Cornelius, did you want to now virtually play that card that you just played before?
Yes, please.
Okay, so wherever that card's gone, it doesn't matter. We know what it's doing, but essentially allows you to draw at random from somebody else's hand. So first of all, I'll get you to select the player who you're going to steal from.
Well, as a weak faction, it would be fairest to go with a strong faction, which is, I think, the House of Julii is the strongest in the room.
Okay, Lucius Julius. Now, I think for you there, Tiberius Cornelius. Now, if you go over to click on the cards above Lucius Julius's hand, it'll then show you the amount of cards that he has, which is 2. Mm-hmm. Now, I think if you then click on one of the cards, it'll go request steal, and then I'd ask Lucius Julius to then approve that steal, and that will be the exchange of cards here. That appears to have occurred. All right, yep. So you've now got a new card in your hand, so I'm pleased to see that mechanic worked at least. Very good.
We also have a thief in the Senate.
Someone who gave a good speech can never be trustworthy.
So there you go. So there's that card played. Just be a word of caution that you read your cards because they have funny little clauses like that can be missed. And I miss them every session as well. So, I'm not perfect. In fact, I believe there's one concession out there that can't be played unless there's a land bill in play. All right. And I miss that every time I play. So make sure you're reading your concessions and reading all your other intrigue cards just to make sure that they can be played at that time. And look, if in doubt, and perhaps I might have misled Tiberius Cornelius there a little bit, I should have looked at the card, but if you've got questions, let's have a chat about it, and we'll determine whether it's playable. But no love lost there. Cool. All right, let's move on to the revenue phase. Any questions from our senators before we move on?
Negative.
Good. Nope. So no elder statesmen or senators yet. That'll start to get a little bit interesting as we go forwards. Okay, let's get into revenue phase. Let's do the interesting stuff. So I'm going to do personal revenues and redistributions. So let me quickly talk through this again, and then I'll get you guys just to do that. So you've got money pits at either side that you can pick from. So whatever's closest to you. Let's just quickly go through who gets what money, okay? So faction leaders, they get 3 talents. Every other one of your senators gets 1. If they're the Pontifex Maximus, they actually roll 1d6. That is the amount of talents that particular senator would get. You also get 1 talent per knight as well, okay? So let's do an example of somebody who's got some interesting things going on. Don't forget your concessions. You also draw from your concessions, and you will make sure you reveal the corrupt portion of your card as well. So Marcus Decimus, for example, he is going to get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he'll get 7 talents, if I'm not mistaken. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yes, Marcus Decimus will get 7 talents for his faction. And then you can distribute those as you like between senators and between your faction treasury. And of course, if you're doing trades with other players right now, which involved money, this is now the time that the money can exchange hands as well. Are there any questions from our senators? Go ahead and now start pulling in money. This is an integrity system, so make sure you're only pulling in what you're entitled to.
Would it, for my faction, not be 8? It's 1 per senator, 3 for the faction leader, then 3 from harbour fees?
So that 7. So 3 for your faction leader?
Yes.
Sorry, and then 1 for Aurelius as well. Yeah, I forgot that. So yes, it would be 8. Yes, correct. Okay. Good checking. Yeah, good challenge. Good challenge. Good challenge.
I roll my d6.
Yes, roll your d6, and that will be the the additional funds for Junius, which is he also gets the 1 as well.
Oh,
so he'll get 6. So 5 plus 1 is 6 for Junius.
Stealing out of the collection box.
There we go. And then of course, yes, Copernicus is entitled to 1, and Fabius will get 3. So the Erudite faction, that will be. Let's see what your total would be. You would get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you'll get a total of 7. Is that what you counted, Marco Edia?
Oh, I thought I was getting 8.
Let me double check. 3 for your faction leader, Plateus. Plus 1 for Aelius. That's 4. Another one for Julius is 5. 6, 7 from your tax farmer concession. A total of 7.
Oh, okay. There's not 1 for the night?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Good, well done. Good job, guys. I'm loving it. Well done. That was just me testing it. Great, 8. So don't forget your knights. Yep. I didn't see your knight there on Julius. Good job. You guys are learning well. I'm loving it. Good job. Well done. Good job. Yeah, so I'm trying to rip you all off. Excellent. All right. Slowly getting there. Somebody, Mathis Monarch has redeemed beverage time. Thank you very much. I'm going to have a well-deserved drink right now. Brilliant. Okay, our House of Incognita. Let's do a quick tally for them. Let's see what they get. So, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, good. That looks good to me. No knights over there. Fortuna's Despair will be 3, 4. 5, 6, 7. Is that what you pulled up, Fortuna's Despair?
Yes.
Good. Cool. And yes, so of course, remember that you can pull money in and out of your faction treasuries at this point as well, the redistribution. So either add money in or pull money out and distribute that to your senators as you like. And of course, you'd be looking ahead because you'd be maybe thinking about state contributions, or you might be thinking about bribing, getting knights in, or persuasion attempts, or sponsoring games. So they're all the things you'd be considering at this point. So I'll just give you a few more moments to finish distributing. Like I said, there's no rush. We'll take our time. Okay, is there anybody still going? Everybody give me a thumbs up. Senators, hold your thumbs up on screen for me. 1 thumb, 2 thumbs, 3, 4, 5, 6 thumbs. Great. All right. That is all the personal revenues and redistributions. We have no provinces right now, unfortunately. We would have, but we don't. Okay, now we've got a job for the Quaestor again, our mathematicians. Are you ready? Okay.
Yes.
First of all, let's go ahead and add 100 talents to the state treasury. So that's nice and simple. If you grab a number 1, it's going to become 162, which is nice and clean for the moment. So we're going to have 162 in the state treasury by adding 100 talents coming in. All right, so we'll allow the Quaestor to update that table. Okay, and we're now going to see if there are any senators that would like to make contributions at this point in time. So first of all, let's go to our highest ranking available officer, which is Sulpicius of the House of Julian. I'm going to zoom in again. Give me a brief moment to align all of our big brother cameras here. Zooming in. Okay, would you like any one senator to donate to the state treasury at this point in time?
I would not.
You would not, okay. Doesn't care for the Republic. No, that's fine. Marcus Decimus, would you like to contribute to the state treasury at this time?
Not at this time. I yield my floor.
Okay, nobody's interested in the influence. Let's go up to Pre-Byzantium. Pre-Byzantium, would you like to donate to the state treasury at this time?
Yes.
Okay, which senator will be making the donation?
Junius.
Junius will be making the donation, and how much will we be donating today?
He can have... Oh, wait. I forgot there's a specific amount, isn't there?
Sure. If you're looking to benefit from it, a minimum of 10 talents will get you some influence.
All that stuff you took out the collection box.
Yep.
Giving it back to the state.
No, I won't do a donation.
Won't do it at this stage? Okay, fair enough. All right, let's go across.
So there wasn't a lot of commitment behind that, was there?
That's the church saying. That's the church saying the thought was there.
The thought was there.
Yeah.
Let's go across to Marcoetti of the Ardite faction. Would you like to make any state contributions at this point in time?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. That's all right. House of Incognita, anything from you at this point in time?
I would like to put forward 10 talents.
Who will be the senator making this donation?
Flaminius.
Flaminius will be making a donation to gain 1 talent for 10 talents. If you'd like to go bank those 10 talents for me into the kitty on your right-hand side there, and then go ahead and knock your influence up by 1 to 14.
Well done, Flaminius. What a guy.
Yeah, what a pro. So,
and I didn't even get extra money.
Good. And let's go down. I think there's one more to consider. Tiberius Cornelius and Fortunatus Despair. Is there anybody that would like to make a state-based donation at this point?
I'll take my lead from the church, and charity begins at home.
And a solid no there. Okay. All right. So that's everybody having the opportunity to make a contribution to the state. All right. Let's go and do debt. So I'm now going to go refocus the camera, first of all, on our active forces box on the AstroTurf up in the left center. And we have some units on the board here consisting of both legions and fleets. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units in total at a cost of 2 talents each. 8 twos, I believe, is 16 talents, if my math is correct. Make sure you're testing that at home. And we're going to slowly start to add up our deductions. So we've got a 16 talent debt that we're going to be paying, but let's add to that first. Will be a cost of 20 talents for every active and unprosecuted war. And of course, there's that nasty Punic war that we failed to defeat in that first combat phase. So that's going to add 20 talents to that bill, which will make it 36 talents in total. And of course, you guys got no land bills. That will be the total of your debts at this point in time. So for the Quaestor, if you could please deduct a total of 36 talents from the state treasury from the 162, please.
That's 172 because of my 10.
Okay. From your 10. All right, so you've updated that. Yes, you did add 10 talents to the state treasury, which was from 172. So deduct 36 from 172. That's good. I'm pleased you reminded us about that. Yes, because we didn't really actively I wasn't paying attention anyway. So we'll wait for the Quaestor to slowly update our state treasury in the Temple of Saturn. And we'll talk about the other boxes there. We've got no local forces to consider and no governors to consider there either. Okay. All right, so while we'll let the Quester continue to work in the background there and count the coins, we're going to now move on to the forum phase at this point. Poached Trout's on. Salway to Poached Trout. Yes, you did hear the First Punic War is still around. They hit a disaster, and the commander died. Of course, as you know, they lose half their forces rounded up of each. So what you see in the active forces box right now is all they've got left. Worst outcome ever, unfortunately. So hopefully this next round will be better. But yes, terrible outcome. Okay, let's go to the highest ranking available officer, which is back to the House of Julii under Lucius Iulius. I'm going to zoom in on his field again, and we can start talking about forum stuff. So what I'd like to do is for the senators just to not look at the screen right now. I'm going to check the deck and make sure. In fact, we could take a break so you guys can't screen sheet. I'm gonna see what happened to our card that got inadvertently taken away, and just see where it is, so that if it is pulled out again, we can deal with it accordingly. So for the viewers at home, don't go anywhere. We're just going to take a quick 30-second break while I check the Early Republic deck. Make sure there's no problems with the deck there before we move into this phase here where we start to pull cards out of it. So yeah, don't go away, and we'll be back very soon. Stand by. Okay, we are now back live. I was just checking the deck and seeing what was happening to the other card. So it looks like it's gone to the back of the field, which is fine. So that's not going to be a problem for us going forward. So good, dealing with the limitations of Roll20 as they come up. But for what it offers, it's doing a good job. Okay, so we're now with the House of Julii, who owns the highest ranking available officer. And like with every initiative steps, we need him to now roll a 2d6 and determine whether it's a number 7 or not. So over to Lucius Iulius. If you'd like to roll your 2d6, please, and let's go from there. He rolls a 4. Okay, so what's going to happen is he's going to draw a card, but I'm going to test this again. So don't click the deck. What I'd like you to do, Lucius Iulius, is hover over the deck, and then I think draw will pop up. Click draw, and then type a number 1 in the box when the little prompt comes up. And then hit enter or whatever. Good. Now that card's gone to your hand. Now you can determine whether it's a forum card or a faction card. Red text or black text. Let us know.
I don't want to look at it.
So I can already...
it's this big, and I can already see somebody with a big sword in their hand.
Second, third,
and it's not,
leader.
And it's not Cornelius.
I'm just going to clear that old forum, old event card out of the way. We don't need that anymore. But while you're doing that, I'm just going to recall the event cards back. Early Republic, event cards, recall. On table, recall that one. Good. There we go. So he has drawn a war card, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to zoom in on it, allow our viewers at home to have a look. And if you guys would like to look at it as well, he's placed it nicely in the sandpit for us. That's very convenient of him. Thank you so much. We're going to zoom in. So this is one of the first war cards you didn't want to draw outside of the Punic war set. This is the Syrian War, which is got the armaments icon on the front there. Who can tell me what the armaments icon does?
It will be an active war immediately.
It will immediately be an active war. So it means it's going to be costing you money if you don't do anything about it. And it'll be a revolt if Syria is a province, but you guys have no provinces yet, so it is a full war. It has a strength of 6 right now. And it has a fleet support requirement of 2 with disaster 16, standoff 15, and it's worth a good amount of money. If you can defeat it, it'll get you 45 talents. But who can tell me why we didn't want to draw the Syrian war card right now?
Because we have a leader.
We have a leader, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So we have Anatokos III, who's going to immediately add strength 5 on top of the Syrian war, giving it a strength of 11. So I'm now going to drag this card up to the active wars box with the leader out of the Curia, like so. And he's also going to pop up here into the active wars box. That's really unfortunate. So there are now lots of disaster numbers and lots of standoff numbers. 14, 16, 15, and 17 are the danger numbers. They're the ones you don't want to fight. So there we go. So we now have
undo button.
So here's the thing, right? I was thinking, because a lot of this is luck, die rolls. I did a lot of research into the dice engine behind Roll20 in case it was rigged in some way, but it actually used a pretty sophisticated engine, and it shows it has a very equivalent distribution across all the numbers on a die, right? So the rolling system can't be blamed here. I was thinking, do I allow the Senators one free re-roll a playing session? And collectively, all as a group, right? But everyone's like, nah. I hadn't said that's what I was going to do. I was thinking about it. But it sounds like you guys don't like the idea anyway.
It's the leadership of self-pickiness.
Yeah. But I don't know. So we'll just cop it. And look, and as I extended to the previous group and stuff as well, if you guys cop a really early loss or you lose at some point, we can always restart, right? That's not a problem. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about winning this game. Anyway, we've drawn war, so let's not get distracted any further. Let's go back down to the House of Julii, and let's finish off his initiative steps. So I'm going to zoom back in a little bit more again here. Okay, would you, Lucius Julius, like to make a persuasion attempt?
I would.
Okay, all right. And who would you like to attempt to persuade?
It will be the Terentius.
Terentius. We're going to give Terentius another go. So let's go have a look at Terentius there in the middle. All right, and if you all flip over your cheat sheets, and I'm going to sort of articulate some of the equation for those watching along at home as well. There's a little bit of equation we follow, and we're going to determine a base number first, and then we give the choice to the persuading senator whether he wants to bribe, and then I guess then everybody has the opportunity to counter bribe should they so choose, and then we continue like that until he decides to roll die. So first of all, let's talk about the persuading senator. What is his oratory?
It is going to be. Sorry, hang on, I've got my cards open here.
Which senator's doing the persuading?
Right. So it's oratory and influence, correct?
Yes, it is. So you can give me both.
Okay. So it will be Sulpicius.
Okay. And so what's his oratory?
2.
2 plus his influence, which is
7.
7. All right. So currently running at 9. All right, that's for the moment. Now let's talk about the target senator, which is Terentius, ID 20. What's his current loyalty rating?
Is 6.
Okay, and he doesn't have any personal talents on him at the moment, so that's 0, and he's not currently aligned, so that's also 0. So 9 minus 6 gives us
3.
3. All right, so having a look there now, our base number is currently 3. where you would have to roll on a 2d6 less than 3, which is possible. Now, you have an option from that senator who is making the persuasion attempt. Would you like to put forwards any bribes at this point, knowingly that each other faction will get the opportunity to counter bribe against it?
I would, and I'm also going to play a card.
Okay, so let's play the card first, because I think I know what that is. If you'd like to play that perhaps next to Trentius, which you are doing, very good. Would you like to read this card out to the group, please?
Sure. It is a blackmail card. For your persuasion attempt on your initiative, make an unopposed persuasion attempt against a non-faction leader senator of your choice. No talents may be spent to defend against your only persuasion attempt this initiative. Talents already on the target still count. If it fails, the target senator's influence and popularity are each reduced by 2d6.
Really? If it fails, the target senator's influence and popularity are each reduced by 2d6. Wow. That's fascinating. And, you know, in all the times I've played this game, that has never really popped out to me as a thing as a result of this. In fact, I haven't seen many blackmails played for some reason. So this is a good card to play. So that essentially means you get to not only bribe this senator, but nobody else can do anything about it.
And if I fail, he's not very
yeah. So
well liked.
Yeah, he'll essentially end up at 0 influence and minus 2d6 in popularity. That's phenomenal. to a minimum of minus 9.
And I'm guessing the law behind the card is because he was failed to be influenced over to the faction, you've released the blackmail information. Hence why his influence and popularity has decreased.
That makes sense.
Thanks to Unknown Star, one of our senators, for allowing me to have a sip of my beverage. Thank you. Okay,
thank you to Tiberius for not taking that card, because this was my plan.
Yes. Okay. So, how many talents from Sulpicius would we be putting on Terentius's card today?
We're going with 6.
6. So that means the base number is 9. All right. So, for all intents and purposes, please put those 6 talents onto Terentius's card now.
Oh. Sorry.
This is the formality. This is the bribe taking place.
They've dropped behind, so.
Okay, allow me to update Terentius now. There we go. Okay, pull out your magical 2d6. You now need to roll less than 9. Okay. Yes, there you go.
There we go.
So what I'm going to do now is we're going to send the... I'll move the blackmail card for you. If you'd like to shuffle Terentius down to the House of Julii, he is all yours.
Welcome, Terentius.
So you gain yet another senator to your faction. So,
not a very good one, though.
That was a good play. A good use of card there. And in terms of ensuring success, if you've got the dough, that was probably a good way to go there. So
I think that blackmail card would be great to play on another faction later on in the game.
Now, where did that blackmail card go? I just put it in the discard pile and it disappeared. That's weird. Did somebody take it or delete it?
Nope.
That's strange. It's disappeared off the board.
It's not under Terentius, no.
No. That's really unusual.
I can see 2 piles of event cards. Is it in there?
No, I can make those disappear, which I'm going to do now. I'll hide one. Yeah, so it's they're attached to the side of the screen. That's strange. So if anybody sees a rogue blackmail card,
I see a random face down card on the right.
Yeah,
when you say on the right, where's that?
Yep. On the very right hand side under losing conditions.
Yeah, I see it as well.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
Oh, okay.
I did whisper the game master about this.
Is that the proverbial ace up the sleeve for somebody?
That's my secret code that's going to give me the win.
Oh, there it is here.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick it up and see what it is. Maybe it's that rogue card. I'm going to take the card and I'm going to have a look at it.
That's my automatic I win. Thanks for playing.
End of era card.
So this is unusual. this card is not any of the cards I was expecting it to be. So someone has put a card down and is now missing a card potentially.
It's not me. I don't have any.
Yeah, it's not me.
For God's sake, if it's a war, I'd bury it somewhere.
No, yeah, okay. If you think you're missing
I
a
should
card,
have brought it up.
if you think you're missing a card, let me know and let's have a chat later, okay? And same ways, if you see our rogue blackmail card, I don't know where it's gone. Not that we need it. It's not required. I wonder if it deleted itself. It got so disappointed. Anyway, let's we're going to be here all night. Let's not distract ourselves any further. Yeah, if someone's deleted it, as Poach Trout said, it may just be in the discard area of the deck, or it's gone to the back of the deck if I haven't got that activated. Okay, let's move on with the rest of your influence. Would you like to attempt attracting a knight at this point in time?
Yes, please. With
who would like to do it?
Fulvius.
Yes. How much money would you like to put towards the cause?
4.
Right, so you need just not roll a 1, essentially.
Yep.
So if you'd like to go put all that money in the kitty, in the bank on either side, your choice. And yes, well done. And grab yourself a knight while you're there and pop that onto Fulvius. While you're shuffling coins and knight tokens, would you like to change your faction leader at this point?
No.
Okay, and will anybody be sponsoring any games today?
No, they will not.
Okay, not a problem. All right, so I'll let you continue to bank those coins, pull a knight back for Fulvius, and when you're all finished, don't forget to update your faction votes and your faction influence as well. Okay? Yep. Okay, we're going to move clockwise. Justia Marita, go ahead and roll your 2d6. Let's see what you get.
All right. Event card.
Ah, okay, he has indeed rolled a 7. So, next you're going to roll a 3d6. I'm going to puddle on down to the events table. Scrolling to the correct area.
13.
All right, and he's rolled a 13. So,
I like rolling 13s, it seems.
Yeah, it seems that you do, and it seems we've already had this one before, which you won't be sad about.
Oh,
maybe. Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna go pull it out. So you guys will see the deck feature up on screen. Just leave it there. I'll go in and have a look. I can close that option down. I'm gonna go choose from the event deck. I'm gonna expand my view here a little bit. I'm looking for Allied Enthusiasm, which is 13 from the roll table. Let's see if I can remember which one it is. I believe it's the ones with the hourglass. Let's have a look. Maybe. No, completely wrong. I'm going by picture because you can't read the writing without zooming in. Maybe it's this one. Yes, there it is. Oh, no, it's different. That's what was the one we got before? What was it called?
It was New Alliance. The 14.
Oh, New Alliance. Okay, so make sure I just get the correct cited one because there is 2. Because if you get one, so
yes,
I'll drag this out to the field for everybody's reference. Give me a moment.
50 talents in the revenue phase.
Yes, that's handy. After the terrible loss last time, so I'm just going to drag
half
this.
Our losses.
It does in the revenue phase. So considering we're not in a revenue phase right now, you have to wait till next year. But at least you know there's good things coming. So that's it, ready to go.
Better than drawing a war.
For Lucius Julius, you left Trentius's money behind. If you'd like to go put that back on his card.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Good. Cool. Back over to Marcus Decimus. Would you like to make a persuasion attempt?
Not at this stage.
Would you like to attract a knight?
Yes, I would.
Who are you doing that with?
I will be doing that with Scipico Africanus.
Sure. And how much money are you putting to the cause?
All 5 of my time.
And that's an automatic. You know the deal. Go bank that and grab yourself a knight. There you go. You even rolled a 6 anyway. So
yeah,
you've assured the destruction there. Would you be changing your faction leader today?
I will not.
And finally, any game sponsoring? I don't think so. Not by the amount of money I'm not seeing on your board.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Okay, you are good. That's another player down. I'm just going to go hide the event deck again. Cool. Pre-Byzantium under Numerius Aurelius. Go ahead and roll your 2d6. Let's see how you go. He rolls a 5. Okay, so I'm going to reveal the Early Republic deck for you again, Nemurius Aurelius. Like last time, I want you to hover over the deck. You'll see draw pop up, click draw, and then type a number 1 in the box that pops up, okay? So Early Republic deck show. Okay, hover over the deck, don't click, hover, and then click draw. And then put a number 1 in the box, and that'll go into your hand. Yes. Okay, is it a black text or a red text card?
It is a red text card.
All right, you will keep that hidden to yourself, and we will continue with the rest of your initiative. Would you like to make a persuasion attempt at this stage?
Yes, please.
Oh, very interesting. This should be exciting. Who will you be attempting to persuade today?
I would like to persuade Quinctius of the Justia Merita party.
Ah, fascinating. Okay, and who will be the persuading senator today?
That will be Junius.
All right, so let's go through the motions. First of all, what is the oratory of Junius?
2.
What is his influence?
8.
Great. Let's talk about the target senator's stats now. So what is the loyalty rating as printed on the Quinticus's card?
6.
Okay, here's a line, so therefore he gets another automatic 7 added to that. Does he have any personal treasury at the moment?
No personal.
Okay. So if we have a look, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Your current value is -2 is your base number right now. Would you like to add any bribes to that?
Yes, 5 talents, please.
5. Okay, so from there you go -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So your new base number is 3. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to now move clockwise around the board, and we're going to give everybody an opportunity, should they so choose, to make a counter bribe from their faction treasuries. Okay, so we're now going to move first of all across to Marca Wedia. Would you like to make any counter bribes against this persuasion attempt on a senator from the faction owned by Marcus Decimus? Marca Wedia.
Not at this point.
Not at this point. That's fine. That's okay. Let's go across to the House of Incognita. Will you be making any counter bribes at this point?
Not at this point, no.
Not at this point. Scrolling down, Fortuna's Despair. Will you be making any counter bribes at this point in time?
I would love to, and if only I could afford to.
So, solid no there. House of Julii. Any counter bribes from you from your faction treasury?
No.
And finally, Justia Merita. Any counter bribes from you?
Yes, 2 talents.
Okay, 2 talents, which will bring... So if you'd like to make those 2 talents, pop those onto Quinticus's card. And can I have that 5 talents from you, from the pre-Byzantium, and put that on Quinticus's card as well, please?
Done.
How do
Very
you
good.
calculate the impact this makes again?
So it is the equations on the back of your cheat sheet. So it is the oratory and influence plus bribes from the persuading senator minus the loyalty plus personal treasury plus the aligned modifier minus any counter bribes on the other side. So the current base number is 1. I now go back to pre-Byzantium and back to Junius. Would you like to add any further bribes from Junius to increase your odds?
No.
All right. So because you have to roll a 2d6 and the base number is a 1, you're not going to be able to roll less than a 1 on a 2d6, so therefore we're going to see a fail. But hey, you know, it was worth the shot. You don't know unless you try, right?
My mistake, I didn't read the +7 for an aligned senator, so...
Yeah, gets an automatic... aligned senator's got an automatic buff, which... it certainly makes aligned senators much more difficult to deal with. But we've all learned something from there as well, which is a good outcome anyway, even though the persuasion attempt didn't go to plan. Okay, so let's finish off your turn. Would you like to attract a knight?
No.
Yes, is the correct answer I was looking for there.
Yes,
Which senator will be looking to attract a knight today?
Fabius.
Fabius. Now, will Fabius be giving any money to the cause? Probably not. I'm not seeing any money on his treasury right now. So go ahead and roll a 1d6 and let's see if you get lucky. Ooh, that was close, but no cigar. Okay, so no knights. Any faction leader changes?
No.
And finally, would you like to sponsor any games?
Yes.
Yeah, you've been lining this one up by the looks of it. So I take it Calpernicus is going to be sponsoring some games today?
That is correct.
Awesome. And by the looks of it, looks like you've got 7 talents. Go ahead and throw that in the bank for us. And while you're over there, please grab a number, grey number 1, to increase your popularity by 1. And over to you, Marca Wedia. Could you please decrease the state unrest level by 1, please? So by the good graces of Calpurnicus from pre-Byzantium, the great games he's put on has made the population happy again. And our state unrest level goes from 1 back to 0.
Glory to the games.
Glory to the games, yes. That gladiator decapitation was the greatest.
Only if his prey was as good.
Violence certainly makes everybody happy. All right. Just we'll wait for the good quaestor to update the state unrest level. That concludes pre-Byzantium's turn. So Copernicus now has a 1 popularity. That's the first positive popularity, I think, of anyone here. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. That's very good. And of course, the state benefits from that as well. There you go. There's the 0 coming in. Just plop that 1 on the side, just above you or something for the moment. Certainly no rush to get that 1 back. Okay. Which now leads us to you there, Marca Wedia. We're now going to do your initiative step. If you'd like to do a 2d6 roll, please, and let's see what number you get. And we see a roll of 4 coming through. Okay, so again, I'll explain again. I'm going to reveal the Early Republic deck for you, Marca Wedia. I'd like you to hover. Don't click the deck. Hover over the deck, and then a little drawer will pop up. You'll click draw, and then when the little box pops up, you'll put a number 1 in that box. Okay, so I'll just go reveal the deck for you now. Okay, it's now showing. Hover over the deck, and then click draw, and then put a number 1 in the box, and then hit enter. Great, well done. And then I'll go hide that deck again. And is that a red text or a black text card?
I'll just have a look.
Okay.
It is a black text card.
Black text. Okay, so we need to throw this in the sandpit
No,
in the
it's not.
middle.
It's a black senator.
Yep. If it's a black senator, let's throw that in the sandpit in the middle for us. So if you want to click and drag that new card out into the sandpit.
Okay.
And then flip that over for us. We are looking at Claudius, ID number 5. So we have another new potential senator, an underlined independent right now. Claudius has joined us in the sandpit. So I guess he's up for grabs, I guess. Open for persuading. So let's finish off your initiative step there, Marca Wedia. First of all, would you like to attempt a persuasion attempt today? Did I hear a yes?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. Would you like to attract a knight?
Thank you. Yes, please.
Yes, please is the answer there. Very good. And which senator would like to attract the knight?
Yep. Plateus.
Plateus is going to do the knight draw today. Now, would you like to put any money to the cause?
Yes, 5.
5? Very good. All right, so if you want to go bank that 5 for me, and while you're over there, grab yourself a number 1 knight to add for Plateus. That'll be an automatic victory there. Now, while you're working that in the background, would you be willing or wanting to change faction leader today?
Not at this point.
Not at this point. And any intent to sponsor any games today?
No, thank you.
No? All right. All right. So you'll be able to finish that off, and that will conclude your initiative step. All right. Let's go across to the House of Incognita. You know the drill. Roll your 2d6 and let's see what happens. Ooh, interesting number. 11, which is not a 7. So you will be drawing a card from the deck. So how many cards have we drawn so far, by the way?
We've drawn all but 1. So if that should be our 4th draw.
So this will be our 4th draw? Just because how many more people we got to go? We got one after this one, right?
One other.
Draw, right?
Yeah. Cool. So you'll notice that you haven't encountered that Gallic War card yet. That's in the top 6. So I've accounted for that. So we haven't seen that
in advance.
So I'm going to pull out the Early Republic deck again here. Usual, hover over the deck. select the draw when it pops up, and then type a number 1 in the box. There you go. Early Republic deck is shown for you. Put a number 1 in the box, hit enter. Oh, okay, good. You've now got the card in your hand. Now, is that a faction card or a forum card? Black text or red text?
Oh, fantastic.
So it's a black text card then.
We're all going to enjoy this, guys. Don't worry.
Throw that in the sandpit. Let's have a look. It is huzzah!
No.
Hamilcar. Hamilcar.
That's terrible.
+3. Enemy hero. Increase the strength of all 3 Punic wars, and he also may combine with Hannibal. So if he doesn't meet his timely death like he did in history, he could hang around for a lot longer. A request of Quintus Octavius, if you want to go pop that in behind the first Punic War, before you move it, let me just put it back. There you go. Go pop him under the first Punic War there, just to remind us that he is now reinforcing that war, making it just that little bit more difficult for us with more disaster and standoff numbers.
Just disappear like the blackmail one. You can do it.
Oh, boy. Now, will you be looking to make a persuasion attempt today, sir?
No, I will not.
And you'd like to attract a knight?
Yes, I will.
And who will be doing that today?
My lovely faction leader.
Your faction leader. Any money to the cause?
No.
No? All right, go ahead and roll a 6 on a 1d6 for me. Ooh, no love there. All right, would you be wanting to change your faction leader today?
No, thank you.
And sponsoring any games? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, broke too much.
All right, that's your turn done. Let's go to the final player in our initiative step down to Fortunatus Despair and Tiberius Cornelius. All right, go ahead and roll your 2d6 for me and let's see what you get.
9.
9. You're going to draw from the deck. So I'm going to, again, reveal the Early Republic deck. Hover, don't click, hover, click draw, put a number 1 in the box, and that's going to bring a card to your hand. There it is. Off you go. 1 in the box. Press enter. There you go. Card is now in your hand. Okay, now is that a red text or a black text card?
It's a black text.
All right, throw that in the sandpit. And it is Second Illyrian War. Look at all these war cards popping out. Isn't that lovely? Oh, dear. But look, I think if you're going to draw a war card, this is the one you'd probably want to draw. It's not as potent. Now, it is an active war because it has the armaments icon on there. Noting it is the second in the series. So if you happen to, say, defeat it in this turn cycle, if you draw the first Illyrian War, the Illyrian War will count as a revolt and not a war card. We will talk about that later if that's a problem. Now, when you defeat both of the Illyrian Wars in the series, you'll eventually create a province there, which is cool. This has a strength of only 4, requiring 2 fleets, and only has a 5 and a 17 as bad numbers to roll, and you'll get 10 talents from defeating that, should that be successful. So, I'll go pop that war card up in the active forces box. Tiberius Cornelius, would you like to make a persuasion attempt today?
No.
I hear a no. Would you like to roll for a knight?
I would, please.
Which senator will be doing that today?
For Achilles.
All right. Any money to the cause from his money? From his personal treasury? You're going to pay 5 from his card? Yeah, cool. So that's an automatic. So if you go bank that and bring back a number 1 knight on your way back, he's going to gain a knight there. Very good. Any intent to change your faction leader today?
No. And
finally, anybody looking to sponsor games?
No.
All right. And that will wrap you up nice and quick. Well, so we still didn't see the Gallic War card. Did you notice that? So that means it's pretty obvious. Whoever in the next turn cycle, it's going to be the first card drawn, right? There you go. So you at least know you've got 1 extra war coming next turn. So if you put yourselves on good stead, you'll be wanting to maybe defeat a war in the coming cycle. So now that we've finished the forum phase, we're going to put Rome in order. So let's go through this nice and slow. First of all, I just want to make sure that everybody who's got a concession has revealed the corrupt portion of their card. I'd like everybody to make sure that whoever's got concessions, you reveal the corrupt portion on your card to show that you have in fact taken the concession that round. So I'm looking, Fortuna's Despair is good. Justia Marita is good. Yep, Pre-Byzantium is fine. Erudite is fine. And House of Incognita, all revealed. Good. Next from here. Now, all senators holding a major office now need to get a major marker. So, obviously, now our old field consul doesn't exist anymore, so he doesn't need to take a marker because he technically doesn't exist. But Rome consul, you need to grab yourself a red major marker. The censor, he needs to grab a major marker. And I think that's it. Oh, and the Pontifex Maximus needs to grab a major marker as well. So those three officers need to go grab yourself a red major marker. Either side of the board, there's some on either side. And you need to plop that onto your senator's card. Leave your purple tokens there. They stay there for the moment. All right, but you'll now be accompanied by a red token. Now, while we're here, this is perhaps a little bit early. Because this normally happens in the Senate phase, but we're going to do it now just so I don't forget, is for the Rome consul, and that's the only one at this stage, can you grab yourself a green prior consul marker, please? We're going to do this ahead of time.
Yep.
While we're here. Grab yourself a green prior consul marker. Normally the field consul would do the same thing, however, we don't have a field consul. So just Sulpicius is going to get the prior consul marker now. The second Punic War is not active, so therefore we don't need to check if any farms are destroyed. We don't have anything in the Curia, so the HRAO doesn't need to do anything there. And the last thing we need to do is now have everybody go and update their faction votes, tally, their faction influence tally, and then update the vote tally board and the influence tracker. So everybody take a moment, do all your counting. So I'm going to read out this comment from Poached Trout. He says, drawing the Illyrian war card could actually be good because it results in 3 active wars, which allows for a dictator. So yeah. I want you guys to keep that in your mind as we come into the next round. Now I see Tiberius Cornelius has just rejoined. Just going to make sure I can hear him. I've just unmuted him. Good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Everyone else's
devices went flat.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're good. Okay, so everybody should be updating their faction votes, and I'm going to do a bit of an audit here before we move in, just to make sure we're okay. Let me check on Tiberius Cornelius. So his votes are going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so Tiberius Cornelius, you need to go from 7 to 8 votes. Oratory plus knights. And let's check your faction influence while I'm here. 4, 5, 6, 7. And your faction influence is correct. That's good. So you're on 8 votes and 7 influence. All right, if you want to go update your trackers on the respective parts of the board for that one. Next, I'll go to the House of Julii. Let's double check his counting. And he's got a lot more senators to count from here. So let's go through. You're going to have a total votes of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 faction votes. And you've got that correct. Let's check your influence. You're going to have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And that is also correct. And I imagine that you've already updated your other trackers on the board. Yep. Across to Justia Marita. Let's check your numbers. So in terms of faction votes, you are going to have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is correct. Your faction influence is going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which is also correct. Very good. Up to Pre-Byzantium. Votes, you are going to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is correct on your board. Faction influence is going to be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which is also correct. Well done. Moving across to Marcawedia. Let's check your votes. You're going to have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is correct on your board. Influence is going to be 5 and 4 is 9, 10, 11, and that is also correct. Well done. House of Incognita. Let's check you. Votes are going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is correct. Faction influence is going to be 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, which is correct. Okay, good. So just make sure you've updated your vote tally trackers, as well as your faction influence tracker on the board, so we can see, we can see some an interesting dispersion now amongst the field. Let's zoom in there and let's consider that before we step into the population phase, and all the viewers at home can have a look. So currently in 19 influence, we have Quintus Octavius, which is his faction, the House of Incognita. Very closely behind him, we have Let's see. I'm reading off my notes here. House of Julii. Is that correct? With the hand and the wreath, is that, I believe that's pre-Byzantium under Numerius Aurelius. Then we see Marcus Decimus, followed closely by Marca Vedia, and then all the way at last but not least, we see Tiberius Cornelius and his faction, their despair. Fortuna's despair. He's despairing. There we go. So that's the influence leaderboard right now. In terms of votes, it's a slightly different story. Yes, we see the House of Julii with quite a strong number of votes there, and all the other factions with 10 votes or less. So there's quite a dominant faction that's coming out here.
Where's the vote tracker?
So it's to the right of the sandpit in the middle, so it's right above you. So if you look right above your playing area, you'll see the vote tally tracker.
Ah, yeah, sorry. Yep, thank you.
Yep, very good. Left in the forum, we have Claudius, who remains unclaimed at this point in time. He's sitting there waiting, and we've got Allied Enthusiasm on the board, which was one of the event cards drawn. That'll be good for 50 talents in the next revenue phase, when we eventually get there after this turn. So, what time is it now? So it's coming up to 9:30 p.m. local Australian Eastern Standard Time, where we are here. I guess I'll ask you guys at this point in time where you'd like to finish this evening, noting how long we went last session. Now, I'd propose that it was probably a really good point to finish after the new consoles were elected, because that way it gives a whole week for the consoles to consider what their proposals are going to be coming up in that Senate phase. You know, think about the wars, think about doing the calculations, think about how they want the Senate and the Republic to run them, in terms of their eyes. I guess it'd also give the consoles that time, that initial conversation to see who's going to be Rome console and who's going to be field console. Talk about, if you're going to have a dictator, if you're going to appoint a dictator and who that's going to be. And I think that'll be an important decision. So I guess amongst you guys now, is that what you'd like to do today? Would you guys like to finish after the appointment of the consoles?
I think a possible other proposal would be we finish, because if everyone believes that it's extremely likely we will elect a dictator, perhaps we should end the session at the election of the dictator, since he'll take over as the highest ranking office.
Yeah, sounds good to me, I think.
Everyone else happy with that?
Yeah.
All right. Yep. I'm happy with that. I don't really mind where we finish. And we'll take that. We'll take a little break once the consoles are elected anyway. Give them a moment to talk about amongst each other, and then who the dictator might be. We'll have a bit of a leg stretch, and then we'll come back and finish that last little portion, and then do some wrap up. Okay. So let's step into the population phase now. All right. The unrest level is +1 for every drought and unprosecuted war. Now, oddly enough, we don't actually have any unprosecuted wars. They've all become active. The first Punic War, we attacked that, so it's not unprosecuted, even though we didn't win against it. And we currently don't have any droughts. I'm just checking the war cards. There's no drought icons there, and you didn't draw any from events. So that's pretty good. Pretty good there's no droughts. So there's going to be no modifiers to the unrest level yet before we advance to the State of the Republic address. So remember from last time, once the dice is rolled by the HRAO, that commences the Senate phase. So that is the official start of the Senate phase. So anything that's applicable in the Senate phase occurs at that point. And outside of that, I guess we'll go from there. Now, don't forget, I expect my highest ranking available officer to make a speech. So hopefully they've been preparing their speech for this State of the Republic address. When they finish their speech, then they can roll that 3d6. So over to our Rome consul as the highest ranking available officer. You are going to be making the State of the Republic speech, so that'll be Sulpicius, under the good graces of the curator, which in this case here is Lucius Julius Vorenus. Over to you for your State of the Republic speech.
Thank you. Fellow senators, it has been an interesting year, to say the least. I think Rome itself is in a strong position. The plebs are reasonably happy. The church is doing the church things that it does. Unfortunately, the wars have built up around us, and need I remind you of the unfortunate disaster that happened in Sicily. Having taken the fleet war to the Carthagins, we now rule the seas, but unfortunately our land forces met with an unmitigated mess. This puts us in a very difficult position coming into the next year. As consul, I'll obviously be stepping down and allowing somebody to take over. There's been many voices discussing how strong leadership is required in Rome. So the House of Julii looks forward to handing over to somebody who will show us how this should be done. With the Carthagins knocking on the door, both in the north and in the south, and with the Syrian uprising, it will be a challenging year. So strength is required. It is also interesting to see some in-house fighting happening amongst senators. In times of wars, I think this is not the most ideal situation. United, Rome can become a fantastic, great republic ruling the world, but in-house squabbling and fighting, thefts from farms and grains and stealing off each other. Now is not the time to be raping and pillaging our land, and now is the time to be united and fighting these wars. So I'm looking forward to discussing with you the next consuls and how they will show us how the strength is required and how the wars should be fought. There will be much on their plate, having told us this is the way it needs to be. So without further ado, I will end my speech for the year, and I look forward to working with you all again next year while we try and help Rome survive the wars on our shores. Thank you.
All right, very good. Golf clap, golf clap. Bread and butter, yada, yada, yada. Okay. All right. Now, as a part of the motion here, so I'm going to prepare myself and go down to the population phase underneath the board here and go look at the State of the Republic chart. Now, you've got no discernible population that as a modifier, so it's 0. No. So all you need to do here is just roll as high as you can on a 3d6. However you'd like to do that. Ooh, yeah. So,
not the table we're looking at.
So if you scroll underneath the players' areas to the nice brown stones, and there's a little box called Population Phase towards the left-hand side, you'll see the State of the Republic table, and you can see that from his roll of 7, we're now going to see an increase to 3 to the unrest level. So if I could ask the good Quaestor, Marco Wedia, could you now make the unrest level go from 0 to 3? And I'll drag this next bit out, which is there's now going to be a manpower shortage. So that means every unit now costs you double. And so what I'm going to do...
No, I don't know. Do I get to roll next time?
Yeah. If you're a luckier person than who has been, so I'm going to drag this manpower shortage token up into a prominent location for us to think about. I'll put it in the sandpit. There we go. So again, I'll put that right next to the state treasury so we can see that every unit you raise is now going to cost double. So for all those that didn't donate to the state treasury this round, shame on you.
I got us, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah. So this is probably not what you wanted to see. This does make things difficult. Now, Poached Trout in the chat says, "Now this is what an early Republic game is supposed to be like." I don't know whether that's to this State of the Republic address or what, but this is challenging stuff. This is very challenging stuff. All right, that's enough commentary on that. That's the outcome of that. We are live in the Senate phase. The highest ranking available officer, Sulpicius, has the floor, so it is over to him to run his business.
Okay. Sorry, I thought we were going for a break now, but we're going for one after we've had the next
Great.
Right?
Yeah, we'll go for a break as soon as we've elected the consuls. Note to our scriber. So remember, scriber Tiberius Cornelius. Just make sure you make your your notes. We'll have a chat through the course of the week, and we'll double check your homework from last week as well. I'll go in and have a look. But just don't remember to forget to take notes on each of the proposals as they come through. Okay. Right, back to the Rome Consul.
So, Senators, obviously, after speaking to you all and the state, the plebs have spoken, and they're not happy. Whether they're not happy with the wars that are bordering us, or they're not happy with our internal fighting, or they're just not happy with the way Rome is being run, we now need to start a new year and start afresh. So the first thing we need to look at doing is electing the new consuls to lead Rome into glory in these wars. We'll be looking for 2 strong consuls to do this, the leading of Rome and the fighting of 3 wars. Will no doubt lead towards requiring a dictator. So I'm going to open the floor for some discussions on which of your senators from your parties you feel could be strong enough to lead Rome. I haven't had any discussions with you all indirectly, so I'd like to hear what some of the thoughts are on who could take us through this troubling.
A point of interest, if I may, Consul. So in your deliberations, everybody, and your thoughts and suggestions here, I just want to provide my facilitator advice here. So noting that sounds like you guys are going to be appointing a dictator. So ideally you want to be leaving a senator free to be appointed dictator, because you can't be consul and dictator. And I guess you'll also be wanting
consul.
So ideally, and again, this depends on your plans, right? Whether you're planning to send 1 or 2 armies, right? Noting that the dictator can go in any order, but the field consul always goes before the Rome consul in terms of order of precedence. So don't forget that when you're thinking about military ratings and senator cards, etc. Where do you need your strength to lie? Often it makes sense sometimes for the top 2 highest military ranking officers to be the dictator and master of horse, because the master of horse is appointed by the dictator, or you may want to distribute that potentially. So you may want a really strong field consul if you're planning to put forwards a second army, and then maybe a medium dictator and a strong master of horse. I just want you to consider, whoever you're electing consuls, then also be thinking in your head, and I guess the consuls themselves need to be thinking about who then will then be appointed dictator and who will also then be appointed master of horse via the dictator. So yeah, having a look at those military ratings of your senators, you need to be doing a bit of chess and thinking ahead here, okay? That's all I wanted to put in there. Thank you.
Well, certainly Scipio Africanus would be a contender for fighting the Punic War. I mean, that's given his card and his military rating, that will be obviously up to the new consuls to be whether he's the dictator or not. But I feel that obviously with his military strength and his ability to avoid a disaster would be good down there, since we've already seen some disasters.
True.
Well,
I have a proposition I'd like to put forward.
Sure.
In the first instance, my first proposition is that the House of Julii should not be permitted to fill important roles in the Senate. You opened your speech talking about how Rome is in a good state, and the people have spoken. Rome is not in a good state. It's in a terrible state. Your leadership has been a terrible period for Rome.
They're fighting words.
It's unfortunate, but we need to face facts here. We need to have this debate, and we need to settle this now so it doesn't dog us in the future. The fact is that while the House of Julii gets more and more powerful amongst the other houses, it has entirely neglected the leadership of Rome, and it leaves us in the parlous state that we find ourselves now. It's a horrible situation, Senators. I'm sure you all agree.
Presiding magistrate, you
I
don't
think
have to listen to that too, by the way.
We'll call to order here, because Fortune's despair seems to be rambling on when they had the opportunity. Point of order, please. You do not have the floor. Point of order. Point of order. You do not have the floor. Strong houses are required in a Senate. Sitting in the background chirping away about what should be done is all very well and good, but as I've said, we need to be discussing what can be put forward to help Rome
Well, I have
grow.
a proposition, and I am coming to it.
If you could get to it sooner rather than later, that would be
good. As you wield your power against me and the other houses, just as you wield your incompetence against all of Rome. So my proposition is this. We had an example of a senator who demonstrated his love of Rome, and that was Copernicus, who when the opportunity came to throw some games, Copernicus did so and reduced the unrest of the population. And I would like to say congratulations to Copernicus. And that is the trait that would make a good consul. So my first proposition is that Copernicus should become the consul. My field consul, I think, should go to Scipio Africanus. Now, Cornelius fought a terrible war, but I hope that the lessons have been learned. And I think we see in young Scipio a leader that can prosecute the war most successfully.
Thank you, Mathis and Monarch, for the posture check.
Quick point. So the benefit with sending Scipio Africanus would be in the Punic Wars, obviously. But the issue is that...
Or any war, for that matter.
Well, with the military, but also he risks dying if we lose, when he would be benefited most fighting the Punic War. Now, the issue is with the manpower shortage, we're not going to be able to raise anywhere near enough forces to fight that war. So perhaps we should suggest, fighting the Illyrian War first, and making sure that we don't send a commander off that risks death when we might need him later on.
Yes, but I fear the Carthaginians won't allow us the time to sit with these unprosecuted wars. Certainly, a stronger second Punic War may be around the corner for us, and with already veteran leaders from the first Punic War, a second might be the death nail upon us. I think I would definitely feel that prosecuting and successfully defeating the first Punic War might be a necessity for this coming year. But I'm certainly open to hear the suggestions from other senators.
I think it's quite impossible, to be honest, because it's 20 talents to raise a fleet, for instance, and we need 10 of them. Now,
please, just a point of order there. The naval victory is still in order.
Yes.
We would only need to raise the supporting fleets.
I apologise. You're correct. So the thing is that we can only raise not even seven legions, which means that we don't have a lot of wriggle room here.
Yes.
But is that better done under a dictator and a master of horse?
I would believe so. If we were to go down that order, maximizing the military skill that the might of Rome can muster would be an additional 9 points added to the strength and legion of Rome. If we would just run some numbers here, we will need to raise 3 for the naval. That will leave us, I believe you said we couldn't even raise 7.
We can't raise 7, so we can only raise 3
another
more soldiers.
3. So we've got a 6, so it'll be 9. 9 nines is 18. It would be a stronger land force than what we raised previously to go to war, going from a +7 to a +8. So I believe if we were to prosecute the Punic War, and it is my opinion that is likely the most important war that we should try to prosecute at this stage, and given we would be able to nullify the disaster and stalemate roles, which plagued my father in the previous effect. If we were to prosecute the Punic Wars, a dictator is an absolute must.
Just a quick point of interest, and this needs to be said. So this comes from the chat from Mathis and Monarch. He said, you could say the possibility of a second Punic War would be the elephant in the room, or at least the elephant in the Alps. Thank you, Mathis and Monarch.
Yes. And also, while I still have the time on the floor to speak, I think I agree with Tiberius that that the senators who have spoken to the populace and raised popular support would definitely be the most beneficial to take the Rome consul position for when they get to speak to the plebs during the next year's speech.
Okay, so that's currently Calpurnicus. Is the only one with the popularity vote. So if we're not going to fight 2 wars, then is the second consul's military rating irrelevant?
Could be, but that's kind of all he's good for the most part. But I'm certainly happy at this stage that there's been lots of discussion about certain factions leading the rest. I believe it's important that we, as the rising tide would rise all boats, we should look at other factions who may wish to take leading roles within Rome and see how they fare.
Julius? Can I put forward Julius as well?
I think Julius would be a wonderful choice.
Yes.
Agreed.
Julius. Yep.
Yep.
So what we're saying is that Copernicus should be consul, Julius be field consul, and then Scipio becomes the dictator. That's my understanding. Where at?
Well, it'd be up to the 2 consuls to decide amongst
But that
themselves.
seems like a path of action.
Yes, we're during the dire straits that Rome does find themselves in. I believe we're more than happy to kind of talk openly about any back channel discussions that would normally take place. Yes, I believe that's more or less what we're considering at this stage.
Yes, I would agree with that. Looking at active wars is like looking at the fall of Rome, so I think we need to put our best foot forward there. Okay, so I'm going to call a vote. Yep. So it's not the recommendation. What is it? The
Proposal?
The proposal. The proposal on the floor is for the 2 consuls is Calpurnicus from the pre-Byzantium party and Julius from the erudite party. We will start the voting. We'll start with the Fortuna's Despair party.
I think it's a terrific proposal, and the only one that's really going to mark your reign of despair with any honour whatsoever.
So are you actually going to vote? Or God, the state of address is going to be long if he ever gets in. The Justita Merita party.
That will be 10 votes for the proposal.
The House of Incognito.
And that would be 6 votes for.
Erudita party.
10 votes for.
And the pre-Byzantium party.
7 votes for.
And the House of Julii uses its measly 16 votes for. I would say that's an overwhelming success.
57 in favour.
Fantastic. So do we want to have a break there?
That sounds like a wonderful idea there. Now, I guess ex-console or pro-console. We'll go on a break now, and I guess I can talk to the new consoles about some stuff once they confirm 100% amongst themselves who's going to be who. But so if you're watching right now, please hang around. I'm going to let the senators stretch their legs and have a quick break, and we'll come back here in about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll potentially see a dictator appointment, and then we'll start to wrap up for today's session. So. Yes, don't go too far away. Watch some ads if you can, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thanks, guys. Talk to you really soon. Okie dokie. Salvete omnes. We are back after our short break. Give our senators a bit of a leg stretch as we now consider what was a unanimous proposal there to vote in the new consuls who have a very difficult task ahead of them to lead Rome into this new year. For the crowd watching at home, it was probably an ugly round in terms of draws. Look, the previous combat phase, we saw a disaster with the First Punic War. Lots of legions lost there. So we're going to see that hang around, unfortunately, for a little bit longer. We also drew the Syrian War, and then the matching leader, Antiochus III, was already out there, so that's automatically increased in strength. And then the Second Illyrian War was drawn as well. A smaller war, maybe an easy victory. I don't know what the Senate's potential considerations are on that front, but that'll be up to the Senate to decide when they get there. So a couple of wars on the board. I guess with the 3 active wars there's also a consideration that there might be a dictator appointment, and it sounds like that very well may be the case. So now what I'm going to do is hand over to the consuls to announce who's who. They have to decide amongst themselves who's getting the top job as Rome consul, and so I'll leave it to the consuls now to introduce that and any initial words that they'd like to part. So over to the consuls, please.
Well, I guess I'll go first as Senator Calpurnicus will be the Rome consul, hoping to strengthen Rome against these wars, and I will let the field consul introduce themselves.
Introducing Julius as field consul.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
So let's do the administration formalities at this point in time. So in the sandpit in the middle, folks, you will find your respective Roman field consul red wooden plaques as well as your purple tokens. If you'd like to go place your wooden plaques just on the outer edge of your playing areas and then put the purple tokens on the respective senators. And then in both cases, you'll need to increase the influence of your senators by 5. So whoever gets Rome consul, so Copernicus will go from 2 to 7, and then Julius with his marker will go to 9. So if you want to grab those now, so yeah, just scroll just below you there, Marker Wedia, to the sandpit. You'll see the field consul plaque and purple token if you'd like to take those into your faction. Very good, and then right, increase your influence on Julius accordingly. And we'll give them a moment to update those. Very good. I can see Calpurnicus appears to be done. Would you like some help, Marca Wedia?
Getting there. Very
I see.
slow.
There you go. Good. There's your plaque in. Good. And you pop that on top of Julius. If perhaps I'll ask Numerus Aurelius if you want to grab a 9 for Julius, please. Marca Wedia, help her out. Just drop a 9 token, a grey number 9 for, and plop that onto Julius's card. That'll help help her out there.
Done.
Very good. Excellent. So we'll just wait for that influence to update. Very good. All right. Excellent. Now, for those who have got the cheat sheets and following along at home, the next compulsory step is a discussion about the dictator. So I'll hand over to the new highest ranking available officer of the Rome consul to lead discussions or their decisions there. Noting that, and as a point of interest here, so the consuls collectively will determine and appoint a dictator. This is not an election. This is an appointment. And the consuls must agree on this appointment. So over to the HRO and the consuls for this discussion.
Well, Marker, I'm assuming that we would like to appoint Scipio Africanus as dictator.
Yes,
that sounds good. Okay. Under those conditions, we shall appoint Scipio Africanus as dictator.
All right. Sounds good to me. Marcus Decimus, if you'd like to take up the dictator plaque and purple token and make the adjustments accordingly. We now see our first dictator for the Republic, and perhaps almost historically accurate so. Very good. So give him a moment, and yes, rightfully he then also takes the presiding magistrate plaque, as he will now take over the session as presiding magistrate now that he is the highest ranking available officer. We'll give him a moment to update his, adding 7 to his influence. There we go. Perfect. Now up to 13 influence there, and he's going to do his little updates for his total faction influence as well, which is fantastic. And now we hand over to Scipio Africanus under Justia Merita to now make his first decision. Making an appointment, and so I'll leave that to him now to decide that when he's ready.
He's on mute.
I apologise. Thank you very much. With a heavy heart, I take upon the role of dictator over the Senate. We are in tough times. these are times that we must face head on. As my first decision as a dictator of Rome, will be appointing my Master of Horse, who will be accompanying me upon the military campaigns against the hordes that are at our walls. I, at this stage, will be electing Fabius to be my Master of Horse. I'm purely electing it upon his military strength, and he will be greatly used upon the battlefield for advice and general leading of troops during these tough times.
Which faction's Fabius from? Is that mine?
Yes, the pre-Byzantine.
You don't know your own senators.
I just wanted to make sure. I wasn't expecting it, so I'll take that as a gracious gift.
All right, so from the Centre Sandpit, you'll see the Master of Horse plaque and the purple Master of Horse token. If you'd like to go place those respectively in your area, and then increase Fabius' influence by 3 to now 7. Oh, sorry, 8. Let's get that math right.
Should I be scribing the appointment of the dictator and the appointment of the Master of Horse?
Technically no, because they're not proposals, but if you could note those as well, that'll be good for record's sake anyway. If you could note those down. Yeah, they're technically not proposals, but yeah, if you could note those down, that would be good. All right, there we go. Master of Horse is now appointed. So just a little bit of trivia again on the Master of Horse. And as the good dictator pointed out, the Master of Horse goes wherever the dictator goes. And gets to add his military rating to that of the dictators, which is very useful. So if you have a look at the dictator, who has a military rating of 5, plus then of the Master of Horse, which is 4, so that's a total of 9 already in strength that you've got on a walker on an army before you even add legions. So that's pretty awesome. Do we call it a downside? The downside of the Master of Horse is it's all of the challenge and none of the perks. So the Master of Horse is not entitled to any popularity or influence gain should a victory occur. They don't get a veteran legion. Yeah, they don't get popularity and they don't get influence should they win their war that they go off to fight. They are merely there to strengthen the dictator and the dictator alone. And the Master of Horse does not operate on their own unless something weird happens to the dictator, but usually if the dictator dies, so does the Master of Horse. So it is a challenging position, perhaps a sacrificial one, but an important one nonetheless. So that's a little bit of background trivia on the Master of Horse. That's right. As Poach Trout says, actually from before, he said the manpower shortage was probably the worst of your draws previously over the last turn or so. And he says, yes, the Senate places the fate of the Republic in the rockstar Scipio's hands. Very much so. Very much so. So we are now going to conclude our session there with our senators. Yes, an interesting bout. There are some positives and negatives. The biggest negatives being the manpower shortages, the loss in the First Punic War. That allied enthusiasm will be helpful. That extra 50 talents, it will no doubt serve a wonderful purpose when we hit the next revenue phase. But right, some big decisions for the dictator to consider. So over the next week, our dictator is going to sit down and think about and do all the calculations. I'm sure he's probably already half done anyway, about which war he is thinking, or wars he's thinking about prosecuting and how about he's going to go do that. And then maybe do some background politicking in the background to ensure that his proposals get through. And we'll see how that goes. We had some quirky things happen with cards again this session. That's fine. We note that a card that we considered discarded went missing. I dragged it to the discard pile and then it went to vanish from that point. So can everybody just check their hand? Has anybody picked up a blackmail card in their hand that shouldn't have one? Can everyone just check their hands just in case somebody accidentally picked it up? I'm going to check the deck later while you're all gone.
Your hand.
Just have a quick check, because I won't check your hands now, but if everyone can just check their hands, make sure you don't have a blackmail card that you shouldn't have. And then, of course, the other problem is, right, we discovered the other card roguishly off to the side, which I've just since picked up. So if you think nobody's come to me, but if you think you're missing a card, let me know, and you're going to tell me what it is. Did it get moved to the map or GM layer? Look, that's potential. Poached trout. It may have gotten moved layers. I'll go double check after this session. It could be hiding behind. Maybe we'll see what happens. But yeah, I suspect it may have just been deleted. It's gone back to the deck, and that's perfectly fine. That's very manageable. All right. Well, any final comments from either the dictator or any of the senators before we wrap up our session here?
Probably the only comment is we're obviously got some very big decisions coming up, and I do actually think the Allied enthusiasm probably has saved us some harsh decisions, considering the fact that we're probably going to have 2 unprosecuted wars, which I believe are minus 20 talents each. So that cuts into that 50 talents that we're already going to get. We're going to have upkeep for whatever we raise. If we look positively towards a winning the Punic War, we'll get some talents for defeating that. But certainly we need to keep a close eye on the state treasury of Rome and ensure that we don't slip into zeros. Lest be the plebs of Rome storm the Senate and drag our beaten bodies into the streets.
Indeed. All right. With those threatening, inspiring words, that will conclude this session. I think that's quite a nice time to finish up, folks. Well done to our senators this evening. Very happy with your session again, albeit the outcomes were perhaps not in your favour. But don't dwell on that. Please get some good sleep. Let's chat over the course of the week again. I'll give you some updates in the group and give you some tips for improvements and strategy updates. And we'll check on our proposals homework by our scribe as well. And of course, if you need to contact me, if you've got any questions about anything, let's chat through the course of the week. All right. Well, if all of our senators could give a good wave at the camera and I could say walete, you'll say goodbye to all of our chatters.
Hey.
That's it. If you are in chat right now, please stand by. I'm going to say goodbye to the senators in a little bit of a transition, and then I'll come back live and I'm going to do a bit of a recap for all those who are interested in my views and opinion. And give a bit of a summary for this session. But yes, goodbye to our senators for today. See us all next week. For everybody in chat, don't go away. We'll talk to you really soon. Stand by. Okay, and we're back with me for a bit of a summary and a bit of a recap of tonight's session. Let's talk that through. It's pretty action-packed. So we started tonight at the combat phase because we had a bit of a long session. That Senate session from last week, it went on for some time. There were lots of little administrative things that we wanted to get through, some minor appointments, and we eventually got to the discussion about the prosecution of the First War, which in this case the Senate decided to go with attacking the First Punic War. And look, I thought that was a good decision. At the time I thought maybe they should have perhaps added some more legions to that, but that wouldn't have made a difference here. So when they actually went to fight that war, they rolled a disaster. Of all the roles that they didn't want to get, they got the worst one, so they lost half of their land forces and half of their fleets rounded up, which is a huge toll in anyone's books. And, of course, we saw the death of the commander. He had 10 death chit draws to get through, and it was probably on about the fourth one. He had to draw 2, and then the second one come out with his number 1, unlucky. And so Cornelius, the field consul, perished in that disaster as well. So that was a bit of a huge loss for Rome. I guess for the benefit of Justia Marita and Marcus Decimus, that was actually his faction leader, so he managed to retain that senator, which was, I guess, lucky for him from a faction point of view. But for Rome, it was devastating. And right, as Unknown Star says in the chat, some unlucky rolls came out of today's session. So when we got to the initiative step here, it was a mixed bag. We drew out some more wars, but as somebody pointed out, it was probably good in the end that we actually ended up drawing the third war. And I'm just looking at the deck here. So it has the Syrian War. The Syrian War is not bad on its own. It's only got a strength of 6, but remember we already had Antiochus III, the enemy leader for Syria, already on the floor. So that immediately now goes to a strength of 11. Thankfully, the fleet support is only 2. So the Senate could potentially attack that war with a minimal naval requirement there, which is an option. And then they drew the Second Illyrian War, which is much weaker at 4. that could be a quick win and has the least amount of disaster and standoff numbers. It's only got 2. The other war cards now, so the Punic War has 5 numbers that they need to avoid, and the Syrian War has 4 numbers that they need to avoid. And of course, when you start adding disaster and standoff numbers, that makes things really difficult. They really need to be sending multiple armies to attack those wars to mitigate against disaster and standoffs. But when you've got, and here's the final factor, they drew, because of the State of the Republic speech, that the people weren't overly happy with. It was a poor roll. They got the manpower shortage, which always comes at the worst possible time. Anybody that plays this game knows that a manpower shortage never comes at a good time. It always comes at a bad time, and this was a bad time. They've got 136 in the State Treasury right now. I see that question right now. 136 talents in the State Treasury, but yes, noting that units now cost double to raise, so they're not going to be able to raise a great deal of forces. Now, as people in the chat are starting to point out, right, the Senate's got some options, and it looks like they've gone down this path of appointing Scipio Africanus as dictator. He'll be able to take his master of horse. Now, Scipio Africanus is a statesman, and he's got a special ability, which is the nullify of disaster and standoff numbers, which is really good. So whatever war that they send him against, they have rapidly increased their probability of defeating that war, provided that their rolls are good. So fingers crossed that their war selection is a good one. Now, I believe, actually, it's worth checking that card. I don't think it's against enemy leaders. Disaster standoff numbers on Punic wars, but not on any leaders. So unfortunately, it's not. So it won't be any use against the Syrian or Illyrian wars. But if they do decide to fight the Punic war, they can mitigate the 13, 11, and 14 off the chart. So if they can re-muster, and I don't think they will be able to re-muster the forces. They'll have to have a look. They've currently got 6 legions and 2 fleets to be able to build up, because that's strength. They've got a strength of 13, and they need to get a good difference modifier to stand some ground. I'd be probably surprised if they decide to attack the Punic War. I mean, ideally, the group would want to get rid of the Punic War, knowing what's coming. But I don't think they're going to be able to manage that. I mean, I haven't run the sums yet, but that would be a tough war to win. There's at least in the early Republic there's the second Punic War matching war card, and there's another hero, another enemy leader out there. That could make that really devastating. But if you don't have a matching, if you don't have a man shortage and you've got some provinces which are also feeding to your treasury, you could potentially build up a force. Who knows? I would likely expect them to either attack the Syrian War or the Second Illyrian. It'll probably be whatever gets them the most amount of money. I suspect they'll probably attack the Syrians. So if they work out that they can't take on the first Punic War, because they'd have to raise a fair amount of legions and then plus up their fleets a little bit more again. They'd have to add 3 fleets back as a minimum, and then add at least another 6 legions there potentially. They take on the Syrian War. They don't have to add any navy. They just have to give themselves just enough modifier against the 11th strength of the Syrian War. But to keep war tallies down, they might just take on the Illyrian War. They get 10 talents from that, but I don't know. I don't know whether that's worth it. Even with the first Illyrian War, if it comes out in the future, and that doubles the strength of the war, I'm not sure. I can't recall the strength of the first Illyrian War, but that's probably worth leaving. It'd be, if the numbers work out, they should, again, really take on the Punic War or the Syrian War. And with Africanus mitigating half or 3 of those numbers of disaster standoff numbers, then that would probably be the way to go. It's a tough choice, a choice that I'm not, I wouldn't be super excited about making. As Marcus Decimus is now saying in chat, yes, he's going to be doing all the math this week. You would drop the manpower shortage next turn. So come the new turn, the new mortality and forum and revenue phase, yes, that manpower shortage would disappear. So it's only affecting the current Senate session now. So assuming you don't draw another manpower shortage, in the next round, right? Of course. Wow. So yes, this is where it gets challenging. And look, it always gets harder before it gets easier. So our team has to continue to stick together. they'll get the benefit of the Allied enthusiasm next round, but I'll leave it to the dictator, noting that the player of the dictator now has played this a little bit before, so I guess he's got some inkling as to what might be a good choice. So we look forward to seeing what he has in store going forwards next week. Now, I've just been talking to the Senators. We're not going to be playing at our usual time next week. Some of our Senators are doing some stuff. So we'll get back to you through our social media channels as when we plan to host that session. So stay tuned for those updates, and we'll update both our main streaming calendar and also the schedule in the About section below here as well, to let you know when we will decide to stream next, whether that be different or whether we just postpone the whole week. But we'll be sure to let you know. Thanks again to all those that subbed and resubbed and made donations on the channel again. Super kind of you all. Gratis Tibiago. That helps us all the way. Both helps to support this channel and Nova Roma and its activities, scholarships and education. So thank you for those continued donations. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's usually the same people making those same donations, and that's always very much appreciated. Yes, your continuing contributions are well noted. So thank you very much. We'll leave it there now. It's coming to a nice evening here on the east coast of Australia. I might go finish my cup of tea and enjoy the rest of my evening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, morning, afternoon, night, lunch, breakfast, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for tuning in to the Roman Twitch channel, brought to you by Nova Roma. I am Decimus Aurelius Ingeniarius, hosting here the annual Republic of Rome board game broadcast. It's been an absolute treat to be with you again this evening. Thank you very much for being in chat. Thank you for watching on, for standing by and watching the ads as well, and all of your patience. I guess until whenever we catch up next week, be sure to check on some of our other streams that occur, and I look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Until next time, Walete.